afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the Yuma County Planning and Zoning Commission meeting for September 26, 2023. It's 5 p.m. I'm going to go ahead and call this meeting to an order. Commission, can you please, staff, verify quorum?
Yes. AJ Mosqueda,
Present.
Ron Rice,
Present.
Tim Allen, Tim Bowers,
Present.
Danny Bryant,
Here.
Matias Rosales,
Present.
Scott Mulhern,
Here.
Gary Black,
Here.
Bobby McDermott,
Here.
Ron Van Wy.
Here.
Chairman, you do have a quorum.
Thank you. Let's go ahead and please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Before I continue, I'm going to go ahead and read some housekeeping comments that we have here for the public. If you park in the rear employee gated parking lot, please move your vehicle to the front north parking lot to avoid having your vehicles locked in. That gate will be locked in shortly. Again, that'll be the parking lot back here. If anyone parked back there, please move your vehicle. Please sign in at the sign-in sheet at the table by the rear door. Please state your name and address for the record before speaking at the podium. Please address the chairman, not the audience or staff when speaking at the podium. There is a 3-minute timer for those who wish to speak. The chairman may or may not decide to let the speaker continue after 3 minutes and may change items as seen fit. If you have any handouts to give to the commission, please give them to the administration staff to distribute to the commissioners. If you need to show information on the overhead projector, please give them to administration staff to become part of the permanent record. Restrooms and drinking fountains are located in the hallway behind this meeting room. Feel free to use these facilities as needed. Please no food or beverages other than the water in the meeting room. Thank you, everybody. First item of business would be the item number 3, approval of the Planning and Zoning Commission regular meeting minutes of August 22nd, 2023.
Chairman,
Sir?
I move to accept the minutes as presented. Second.
We have a motion. We have a second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any against? Okay, minutes pass or approved. Item number 4, rezoning case number 23-08. Jesus Carrillo.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. Jesus Carrillo, Associate Planner, presenting rezoning case 2308. Patrick McWilliams, owner of the property, requests to rezone a parcel 5.0 gross acres in size from rural area, 5 acres minimum, to suburban site build, 2 acres minimum. The property is located in the Yuma Mesa Plan area at 6150 East County 14th Street, Yuma. And the intent is to split the property into 2 parcels for the residential development. This is the vicinity map and the zoning map of the showing the subject property in the crosshatch. There are 5 parcels within the 300-foot notification area. Outside of the 300-foot radius, parcel 12 and 13, located approximately 360 feet to the north, are zoned suburban ranch 3 acres minimum and are improved with site build and manufactured homes, respectively. And parcel 14, located approximately 600 feet to the northeast, it's also zoned SR3 and is undeveloped desert. Parcel 1 directly to the north and west, and parcel 6, located approximately 250 feet to the west, are zoned RA10 and are undeveloped desert. Parcel 3 to the east is zoned RA5, and it's in the location of 2 manufactured homes. One was allowed with a special use permit back in 1992 with 04 as a second dwelling unit. Parcel 4 to the east is zoned RA10, and it's undeveloped desert. And directly to the south of the property is the Berry M Goldwater Range. This is the site plan submitted by the applicant showing the proposal where to split the property in 2. One will be 2.1 acres, and the property to the new property to the north will be 2.73 acres in size. And this is an aerial image of this parcel and surrounding area. This depiction looking north of the subject property. Correspondence and comments were received by the Building Safety Division, Flood Control District, and MCAS Yuma. MCAS Yuma is not against this proposal. They're requesting navigation easement and range disclosure statement. Staff recommends approval of special use permit 2308, rezoning case 2308, and subject to the following performance and operational conditions. Performance condition number 1, within 60 days of approval by the Board of Supervisors, the owner or agent shall record in the schedule for development, agriculture, range, and navigation disclosure statements. And for a schedule for development, within 3 years of approval by the Board of Supervisors, and prior to approval of the land division permit, the owner shall apply for a grading permit with the Yuma County Engineering Department to improve an egress, and utility easement 20 feet in width along the east boundary as an access bill road and a dust-free conditions application of an ABC, and submitting certification from a licensed engineer confirming easement was constructed according to Standard C gravel road. And number 2, within 3 years of approval by the Board of Supervisors, the owner or agent shall split the property by means of land division in accordance with Section 507 of the Yuma County zoning ordinance. The egress, and utility easement referred to item 1 above shall be recorded with the land division. And Mr. Chairman, this will conclude staff presentation. Any questions?
Thank you, Mr. Carrillo. Any questions for staff?
Mr. Chairman, could you put up the aerial photo, there you go. Where is the paved road? Is it supposed to be a paved road that allows for fire access, part of this?
Mr. Chairman and Commissioner McDermott, one of the conditions is to actually record an easement on the east of the property, which is going to be at 20 feet.
Okay.
And it will be according to standard Cs, which is a gravel road.
And that will be access to?
To the new parcel to the north.
Okay, and there is no irrigation water available or anything? This will be well and septic tank?
They will be served by septic and water well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any additional questions? Hearing none, I'll go ahead and open this up to the public. If anyone from the public wishes to speak on this item. All right, so give it a few minutes because we do have some people in the other room. Is there someone checking over to see if, do I get the wave?
Mr. Chairman, the applicant is here present.
If the applicant would like to speak as well, would the applicant like to speak in regards to your item? Please state your name and address at the podium.
My name is Patrick McWilliams, 6150 East County 14th Street, Yuma. I think he covered it.
All right, thank you. Anyone else from the public? Hearing none, we'll bring it back to the commission for a vote. Thank you, sir.
Thank
Have a
you.
good afternoon. All right, bringing it back to the commissioners.
Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I move that we accept approve rezoning case number 23-08 as submitted by staff.
I'll second that.
All right, we got a motion. We have a second. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any against? Okay, motion passes. Thank you. Item number 5 will be special use permit case number 2310. Mr. Carrillo.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Jose Ivan Palacios requests a special use permit as per section 603.03E of the Yuma County zoning ordinance to allow an accessory dwelling unit on a parcel 2.08 gross acres in size, zone suburban, side build 2 acres minimum. The property is located in the Yuma Mesa Plan area at 1745 West County 17th Street, Somerton, and the intent is to build a side build home as an accessory dwelling unit for his parents. This is the vicinity map and the zoning map of the request. There are 12 parcels within the zoning area. Parcels 29 and 30 to the north are zoned SSB2 and are improved with side build residents and are in agricultural. Parcel 31 to the northwest is zone rural area 5 acres minimum and is improved with the side build residents and it's in agricultural as well. Parcel 1 and 2 to the west are zone SSB2 and are improved with Sabio residents. Parcels 12, 13, 14, and 15 to the south and southwest and southeast are zone SSB2 and are in location of Sabio homes. Parcel 4 and 5 to the east are zone SSB2 and are improved with Sabio residents, and parcel 28 to the northeast is zone RA10 and it's improved with Sabio home and it's an agricultural. This is an aerial view of the property. And this is the site plan that was submitted by the applicant. Portion that is highlighted in yellow is where the intent to locate the accessory dwelling unit. And this is a picture looking south at the subject property. This is looking east on County 17 and west. The applicant provided 9 signatures in favor of this request from the neighbors. We also received Marine Corps Air Station Yuma provided the following comments. The property is located near a known flight path. It is requested a navigation disclosure statement be recorded to recognize the noise, interference, or privation due to the aviation operations that may occur at the nearby Marine Corps Air Station Yuma. We received comments from the Yuma County Treasurer's Office. And the staff recommends approval of special use permit 2310. If the planning commission recommends approval, staff suggesting attaching the following performance and operational conditions. Performance condition: within 60 days of approval by the board of supervisors, the owner or agent shall record an agricultural and navigation and infrastructure disclosure statement. And for operational condition, the approval of the special use permit is based on the site plan submitted by the applicant. Any change from this site plan requires prior approval by the planning director. This is the signature that were provided by the applicant. They're in favor of this request. And this is the aerial imagery showing the neighbors that are in support. We did not receive any oppositions on this request. And Mr. Chairman, this concludes staff presentation.
Thank you. Any questions from the commissioners to staff?
The applicant is present.
Remember, did you say that their taxes are delinquent?
Yes, that was a comment that was provided by the Yuma County Treasurer's Office.
And they did not have to satisfy that prior to getting a special use permit?
They're up to date.
They are up to date, you said?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Because it says there that they are delinquent.
They were
They were.
at the time. of
They are up to
application.
date now. Okay.
Thank you. Any additional questions? Public, anyone from the public would like to speak on this item for or against? Give it a few seconds, a minute or two, while they check the other room. Looks like no. Okay. Would the applicant like to speak on this item? No? All right, so please step up and state your name and address for the record.
My name is Ivan Palacios, Jose Ivan Palacios, and I'm requesting this special use permit for the dwelling unit. Main purpose of these dwelling units for our parents. They came to the U.S. a little late in life, so I think it's now time for us to kind of provide for them, and they didn't have enough time for them to build a retirement or a future, a decent, future. But that's what we're here for, and we want to provide for them and have our children live close to grandparents. So this is the main reason.
Your address, sir?
1745 West, County 17.
Thank you.
Somerton, Arizona.
Thank you, Ms. Palacios. Thank you. Any questions? All right, thank you. Here now, we'll bring this back to the commission for a vote or a motion.
Mr. Chairman, you take a motion.
Yes, sir.
I'd make a motion to recommend approval of special use permit case number 23-10 as presented.
I second.
Okay, we have a motion. We have a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any against? All right, motion carries. Thank you. Item number 6 is rezoning case number 23-10. Mr. Carrillo.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Jesus Carrillo, Associate Planner, presenting the rezoning case 2310. Jose Castro, agent for Lynn and Christopher Arthur Rick, requests the rezoning of a parcel 5.0 gross acres in size from rural area 5 acres minimum to suburban ranch 2 acres minimum. The parcel is located in the Yuma Mesa plan area, located at 6150 East County 14th Street, and the intent is to split the property into 2 parcels for residential development. This is the vicinity map and zoning map showing the subject parcel in the cross-hatch. There are 5 parcels within the 300-foot notification area. Outside the 300-foot radius, approximately 360 feet, parcel 12 and 13, located to the north, are zoned suburban ranch 2 acres minimum and are improved with site build and a manufactured home. Parcel 14, located approximately 450 feet to the northeast, is on SR3 and it's undeveloped desert. Parcel 1 to the north is zone RE10 and it's undeveloped desert. Parcel 2 directly to the west, it's on RE5 and it's improved with a site build home and is currently pending being rezoned to SSB2 with rezoning case 2308. Parcel 4 to the east is zone RE10 and it's undeveloped desert. And we have the Berry M Goldwater Range directly to the south. This is the site plan submitted by the applicant. The intent is to split the property in 2. This is our aerial image of the parcel and surrounding area. And this is a picture looking north of the subject property. Comments were received by Building Safety, Flood Control, and MCIS. And the staff recommends approval of rezoning case 2310, subject to the following performance and operational conditions. Performance condition number 1, within 60 days of approval by the board of supervisors, the owner or agent shall record a schedule for development, agricultural, range, and navigation disclosure statements. And for a schedule for development, within 3 years of approval by the board of supervisors, and prior to approval of the land division permit, the owner shall apply for a green permit with the Yuma County Engineer Department to improve an egress, and utility easement 20 feet in width along the east boundary as an access build road in a dust-free condition by application of ABC, and submit certification for a licensed engineer confirming easement was constructed according to Standard C. And for number 2, within 3 years of approval by the board, the owner or agent shall split the property by means of land division in accordance with sections 507 of the Yuma County zoning ordinance. The egress, and utility easement referred to item number 1 above shall be recorded with the land division. And Mr. Chairman, this concludes staff presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Guerrero. Any questions from commissioners to staff? I'm gonna open it up to the public. Anyone from the public to speak for or against this item? Please state your name and address for the record.
Jose Castro. I'm representing for agent for Lynn and Christopher Rick. Address is 4051 East Jackson Street, and property parcel 725-57003. Just want to let you know that Lynn and Christopher Rick are trying to do eventually in occurrence with approval of this approval, a lot split to pass on 2 acres of that parcel to a local union who's like to take over that. So.
I like deja vu, same thing as the 08 case. I'm like, all right. Thank you. All right,
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Any additional comments? No? Hearing none, I'll bring it back to the commission for a vote.
Mr. Chairman, make a motion.
Yes, sir.
Move that we approve rezoning case 23-10 as presented by staff.
I'll second.
Motion, we have a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any against? All right. Item number 7, special use permit case number 2311. Just out of curiosity, before staff begins, how many are in this room here for that case, 2311? All right, so we'll go over the rules in a little bit. Thank you, guys. All right, go ahead, Mr. Barroso.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, there may also be
Yeah,
people in the
another
overflow
room,
room.
yeah, yeah.
Javier Barraza, Senior Planner, presenting special use permit case number 23-11. This is a request for special use permit per section 601.03T of the Yuma County zoning ordinance to allow a solar power generating facility, battery energy storage, and associated equipment on 7 parcels, a total 4,181 gross acres in size. The properties are zoned rural area 40-acre minimum, located in the Dayland East County planning area, located between County 15th Street North and Palomas Road, and between the alignments Avenue 68E and Avenue 70E, Dayland, Arizona. And the intent of the applicant is to allow a 455 megawatt photovoltaic solar power facility, storage batteries, and associated equipment. This is the zoning and vicinity map showing the subject parcels, crosshatch. Property is access from Palomas Road and Avenue 68E, which is also known as Palomas Road and Harcahuala Road. There's on the south east corner of parcel number 1, there's bisected by Palomas Road. This is an aerial view showing the subject properties outlined in red in reference from Dayland and I-8 and Avenue 64E. This is a site plan submitted by the applicant showing all the washes and where they plan to locate all the panels and storage and associated equipment. This is a blowout of parcel 5, excluding the Harcahuala Road. They're excluded from that, so they're not going to block it. This is a view looking northeast at Palomas Road by the Smith Wash. The most southeastern parcel is bisected just the corner a bit by this road. At this point, Smith Wash. This is a view looking northwest of the subject parcel from the southeast, looking north at Palomas Road, Harcahuala Road, right at the entrance from Palomas Road and the alignment. Looking north at subject parcel. I received 4 letters in opposition, 1 letter in support. We received comments from Arizona Game and Fish Department and Arizona Department of Transportation. The staff recommends approval of a special use permit case number 23-11, subject to the following performance condition. Within 60 days of board approval, the owner or applicant must provide the following: an ARS 12-1134 waiver, record a range disclosure statement, record an infrastructure disclosure statement. Also, the following operational conditions: the owner-operator shall maintain and make copies available to Yuma County, current copies of all permits and notices from submissions to any federal, state, or local regulatory authority. Number 2, the owner-operator shall employ a chief safety professional and provide a 24-hour emergency contact phone number. Number 3, the approval of the special use permit is based on the site plan submitted by the applicant. Any change from the site plan will require approval by the planning director pursuant to the Yuma County zoning ordinance. Number 4, the applicant must install and maintain a security fence at least 6 feet in height along the perimeter of the area of the installation of the solar panel modules. Number 5, the applicant must install and maintain a sign warning of the high voltage associated with the solar farm at the entrance to the facility. The sign must also provide the emergency contact information as well. Number 6, post-project construction dust palliative shall be applied to the soil for dust control mitigation. Number 7, prior to construction, applicant must provide to the planning director evidence of a valid decommissioning bond. If not verifiable to the county's satisfaction, then the applicant, as a special use permit holder, shall maintain a bond in the amount of the full decommissioning cost at the end of the anticipated life of the project. Net of salvage value as estimated by a professional engineer registered in the state of Arizona. Said bond shall be reviewed and approved as form, substance, and amount by the Yuma County engineer. The engineer's estimate of decommissioning costs shall be renewed no less than every 5 years by a professional engineer registered with the state of Arizona, and a copy of each renewed estimate shall be provided to the county engineer for review and approval. The decommissioning bond shall be adjusted in accordance with the renewed cost estimate within 30 days after approval by the county engineer. Number 8, prior to construction, a traffic impact analysis shall be completed per Yuma County Public Works Volume 4, Section 4.5, covering expected construction period, and it shall be completed in accordance with Section 204 of the Arizona Department of Transportation, Traffic Engineering Guidelines and Processes, which analysis shall address this analysis shall address item A, projected daily average traffic volumes, peak morning and afternoon hourly traffic volumes for privately owned vehicles during construction, along with any variations anticipated during construction. B, volumes, weight, and maximum lengths for trucks. C, directional analysis of the traffic. D, a queuing analysis according to the TGP. And E, any recommendations for mitigation measures. Yuma County will manage and solicit bids. The developer shall construct all required improvements recommended by the traffic impact analysis. Mr. Chairman, this concludes staff's presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Baraja.
Applicants are present.
All right, thank you. Any questions for staff from the commissioners?
Yes.
Go ahead.
The blue areas are representative of the washes that are across the property. Is that what the blue mean?
That is, Mr. Chairman, that is an approximation. It was used just to illustrate on the map. The correct ones, you will find them on more precise on the applicant's site plan.
Okay, yeah, they're braided washes, but they're major washes. Okay, thank you, sir.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Yes, this project looks familiar. Has this been before us before?
That is correct, Mr. Chairman.
What happened last time?
At the time I presented in front of the board of supervisors, the applicants withdrew the application.
How long ago was that?
It was on
It was in March.
March 6th.
March of 23. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Oh,
March 6th.
microphone's not close enough, sorry. So this is the same project that we've seen in March, and it was withdrawn, and now it's back to us.
That is correct, Mr. Chairman.
Or anything different? Is it the same project?
This time, the applicants did more outreach and connected to the parties that were concerned with the previous application, and they're present now.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Any additional questions?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, obviously, we voted on this last time, but absolutely nothing has changed as far as the plot, the map, nothing's changed, right?
I will let the applicants speak on that.
Okay.
See what was, because the applicants communicated with Arizona Game and Fish Department outreach to the club, so they did some outreach.
Okay. All right. Questions? No? All right, I'll go ahead. At this time, I'll open it up to the applicant to come up and present their project.
Will I have a clicker I can use?
Please state your name and address for the record, too.
Right here. That's the one. You're welcome. Let me start the presentation for you.
Chairman, members of the commission, my name is Ben Graff. I'm with the firm of Quarles and Brady at 2 North Central Avenue, Phoenix, Arizona. I'm here today representing Aeolus North America in regard to the special use permit application that's before you today. We do have a full presentation, and I appreciate some of the initial questions that have already been set forth. I'll be sure to address those. There have been numerous changes to the application to respond to the public, so we are not bringing you the exact same project as before. With me today is actually our full team. We have representatives from Aeolus, additional representatives from my firm, Copper State Consulting, and Kimley Horn, who is the agent for the State Land Department, Brett Stroop, who I can't take the credit. I'm not a site planner or civil or engineer. Brett has really put in the work that you're going to see today on these extensive exhibits. Is there any way we can fix the width of the slide or just run with it? All right.
You're going to have to.
We will run with it.
We don't want to touch it.
Yeah, you're right. It could get worse. Yeah, you never know. So Aeolus, one of the things that I really want to point out with this slide is Aeolus is not new to Arizona, and Yuma County is by far in any way not the guinea pig for their specific type of solar development, for their battery energy storage, and for the way that they work with an Arizona county. So I actually represented the same company in a similar application in 2020. in La Paz County. We worked through similar issues. That was also a state land department piece, and I can speak to that. They have done renewable energy in the United States since 2015, and we are currently obviously working through the process here with the county. The project in Centennial Flats in La Paz County will complete construction probably within the next year to 18 months. And will be one of the first of their projects in Arizona. This would be the second. Staff did a really good job giving an overview of the site. We are slated to do a 455 megawatt project that also has battery energy storage. And if you've worked on these before, the importance of that is that means that even after electricity has been generated and stored into the evening hours, we still have about 4 hours of the ability to generate and provide energy. So that creates a lot of redundancy, that creates safety in the grid. We will also be working through a GenTie. We have a 500 kV line that will need to travel southwest to the Hoodoo substation. So that'll be part of this project. If we do obtain approvals through the Planning and Zoning Commission and the Board of Supervisors, our construction timeline will lead us to a potential operation date in 2025. Staff did a good job going over this. So this may be one of the most important slides for me to go over. So the obvious elephant in the room is, where was the applicant in March, right? Where was I in March when this project first came before you? And I have watched and listened to the comments, both from the public and from the commissioners, and appreciated all the comments. I think one of the comments, which I appreciated and I understood from the context, was it was a no-brainer to vote against this one because the applicant wasn't present. What I want to explain to you here today is we had some miscommunication with staff that led the team to not be aware of that hearing date, but in no means was that an intentional missing of this project. We would never have intentionally missed an important hearing and an opportunity to explain that to the county. And in fact, if you look at the timeline here of what we did, one of the most important things that I think this applicant did is, instead of pushing forward and forcing the issue before the Board of Supervisors in June, we intentionally withdrew our application. We wanted to prevent anything that would force the issue on the county, especially without the Planning and Zoning Commission being able to hear everything from the applicant. We wanted to take additional time to meet with our opposition, with the Yuma Valley Rod and Gun Club, with various individuals that had concerns and questions. And we wanted to see what we could do to our site to improve it and bring it back. So at additional time, at additional delays to the applicant, we withdrew that. We reapplied, new fees, new start. Want to thank Javier and their team for continuing to work with us, providing us with additional information. And that's what brings us back here before you today. But I can understand that there was a perception of disrespect, if anything else, if an applicant doesn't show up. This is what I do, and I would never contemplate having an application before a county and not showing up for the hearing. So we are here to fix that today. I just wanted to take the time to thank you and provide that background as well. So let's talk a little bit about what has changed, because I think that is the most important question. If we were just bringing the same application back for you today, what would be the point? And so we've listened to the concerns. We've looked at the plan. I think I've heard the hearing that you held in March of 2023 at least 5 times, and really started to hone in on what the issues were. So one of the biggest questions that came up was whether we are in any way inhibiting or blocking access to Palomas Harquahala Road. Why that's so important to the public, and I know I'm preaching to the choir, but just to repeat what was the testimony, is that that is the main access to the Bureau of Federal Lands to the north, to the surrounding hunting areas, and to the recreational areas. And so there was a question as to whether our project was going to in any way inhibit that road. We've now adjusted our plans, which I'll show you shortly, to emphasize and show that we're actually scaling back a portion of the project, preserving that road, and in no way will access to the public to that road be hindered. That's now built into our application, so staff stipulations will require that moving forward. So we've got maintaining that as well. We've worked closely with the Arizona Game and Fish Department. And we are now fully preserving the washes. That is also a point that this commission did an excellent job discussing last time. We are not only preserving them, but we have removed all infrastructure, all panels, and will be fencing the area open. We'll be fencing in our panels, but fencing open the area of the washes to allow for natural flow, but also for the wildlife to be able to traverse back and forth, basically through the project. This is a major change from earlier as well. And we've continued to work on looking at anything else that can be done to help preserve habitats, to be able to preserve wildlife runs, looking at water issues. And so let's kind of get into those changes. So this is the original plan that was brought before you in March. And there were numerous areas of potential obstruction within the washes. And there was also this left-hand corner, kind of southwest corner where the yellow dotted Paloma Harquahala Road is located, which seemingly went through the project. You can see that, and I completely respect why the community interpreted that as interfering with the road. So we wanted to make that clear that that was going to change, this area right here. So if you'll look at our new site plan, this, to answer the first question, the most major change, as we move to the new site plan that's before you today, we've completely reduced the area that we're going to lease from the State Land Department. We've removed the triangle to the west of the road, and now that area is fully preserved. I may have lost the ability to click.
Go ahead. Try it again.
Pointing toward the computer, not the TV.
Yeah, it's in a restart in progress.
Restart in progress.
Great.
The
Well,
3-minute timer went on.
You can do it.
Go
Mr.
ahead.
Mr. Chairman, will you allow me to restart?
No, manually.
I can do it manually. No, I can't.
Friends outside.
Hopefully it doesn't ask you to restart an
I
update.
can restart right now or
Want to
minimize.
open it on this one? Or- okay,
manually.
Oh, you want me to go like, okay, let me,
Wishes he brought his lunch.
I can, if it's, let's see.
you got 4 minutes before.
Oh, it's good, it's working.
4 minutes.
It's working now, okay. Thanks so much for that. We'll just call that a dramatic pause. So let's move on to,
I don't know why it's doing that.
He's the one that was moving it right now.
oh, he was, okay.
No.
Should-
What
it's
should we do?
not- It's not working again, so let's just.
Okay,
have
would
click
you
it.
like me to, permission to
Can you move it
restart?
for him?
I can restart the system and.
Mr. Chairman, the computer's gonna automatically restart in about 3 minutes, so we can restart it now so he doesn't.
and we can,
Go ahead and restart it.
Unless you feel like you're gonna finish in that time.
Take a pause.
oh, you got 3 minutes
Oh,
and
I
30
I just need the slides to be able to finish, so.
let's see, let's restart. Here we go.
Okay,
Here goes nothing.
very good.
Oh, on forever.
Should I just pause my presentation then?
It's up to you. If you want to wait for the restart so you could go ahead and show your screens, or if you want to.
Let's do that, just because these are probably the most important slides. I really do want to emphasize the work we've done with the community to improve the site, so
Yeah, I agree with you. So-
appreciate everyone's patience,
No
thank you.
worries.
Usually it gives you the option and it did not give him the option.
Yeah, this one.
If we had an Apple there, you wouldn't have to restart.
Probably pushed it off too many times.
Apple's-
One too many,
Use your internet too.
From here. But it's only used once a month, really. But I don't ever get on it for VOA. Only be Tuesday. It's okay. Almost halfway there.
Barraza is like, these are going to be the longest 30 seconds of a restart of my life.
Yes.
we are at 1% right now.
Oh, yeah.
No, it's 30. 30.
Technology. We live by it, but we also die by
That's
it.
right. At least it's not Zoom, right? We're all here.
I know, that'd be worse.
Yeah.
Cable, watch the cable. You're stepping on the cable.
Amber.
Use my phone again if you want to do it.
Start. Yeah, don't step on the cord. There you go.
Then
Do
we
not-
get ready for the start.
Oh, he got the desk screen.
Yeah, it's coming back up.
Oh, it's doing a he's doing a major update.
No, she's pissed. You better give him a USB card over there.
Oh, like, let's get that information out there. Okay.
It's going fast.
I would recommend a bathroom break for anybody right now. This would be the perfect time for a restroom break. They're right behind you.
No, they're not. They should not.
No, not. It's only three of them talking anyway, so it's okay.
Actually, it's okay.
No.
No.
It was gonna be
It was-
4
it
minutes
was-
before it automatically did it.
Did
So
it?
I was like, if you, yeah, I was like, you
Do it in
did
4
that
minutes.
or-
What it like?
Got it, okay, fair enough.
On the edge of the sword here.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, that's the only one that worked. Yeah.
We're at 80%
Because it's
That's not bad. 80 already?
new.
That's the last 5% take like 2 hours.
Yeah, I'm like eyeballing. Please.
I just need to know.
Is that a county issued computer, I'm assuming?
Yeah.
Gotta tell the board of supervisors to update their computers, no?
Does this kind of stuff ever happen at the Board of Supervisors meeting?
I don't know.
Remember
We,
that
we need to complain, right?
one with a phone call.
It could happen to anybody.
It could happen to all best of us.
Wow.
Oh,
I'm in the
but we
law.
still got tickets for October 4th, but
No.
sure we're on it. But we're trying to take a guy with us. We're not
No,
sure.
but-
he's gonna
no,
make
yours
it,
is-
so we're holding off to his medical thing.
You guys are getting close. So.
Yeah, it's close. I gotta find out by Friday.
Well, no, I'm not relaxing.
You're not relaxed?
I'm not relaxing.
Why not?
Yeah, I talked to Don a couple of days ago. Yeah.
Oh no.
Yeah, for coming early.
Menus, VP, café.
Oh, really?
The missus wants a new car.
Irony is normally he sits over there and they moved over here
How many
because of that
miles her
computer
car
being
got
down.
on it?
It's at least it's going through fast. Like it's
Yeah, me too. It's a nice car too. You gonna keep it? Oh, gotcha.
Play some music or something.
You know, like the tail markers are on hold. We just need to have some music, you know, like the on hold.
Elevator music.
The elevator music on hold.
So,
Is there a genre? Certain genre?
has your daughter given a date when she's gonna become an Arizonan again?
Is it stuck on 85 now?
Well, in a couple.
It's going okay.
Yes.
Supposed to start working back, working.
Don't jinx it now.
Good, so she's coming.
It's
right now.
restarting. Yay, it's going.
I didn't hear
I was
that.
happy to see that Dell logo.
Thank goodness. Thank goodness that they didn't make two, right?
Yeah.
At our house, but
Yeah.
One or three.
That didn't mess anything up.
Yeah. We're praying.
Now you need to pray that connects.
And praying.
Cold is cold.
That's not with you.
And every day, cold.
I know.
Take out the trash. I was dressed like an Eskimo.
I know. And her and her husband, either one of them, they're both born and raised.
Oh, still working on updates.
Plug in your car so the engine doesn't freeze at
He
night.
had a diesel truck. He had to plug it in and make sure.
It didn't freeze out.
Probably doesn't start.
What's it say now? It's still bidding other stuff. It's gonna be actually the whole computer.
It's stuff like this that gives you what? Like, control.
So I'm ordering a laptop. I'm ordering cables. I'm ordering probably 2 laptops.
What happened to this one?
It wasn't communicating with the monitors.
Because of the cable?
And we didn't have long enough cable.
One that you see next to it, that Agua Caliente, that's 2,400 acres.
This is the biggest one I think we've had.
I
You know
recommend.
when Agua Caliente brought online back in.
See him typing, that's a good sign.
All right.
Or AJ, that.
It's,
Again,
How things have changed. huh?
yeah.
Gotta reload everything.
Oh, I need to see.
you put it on I think it was like slide.
Oh, it's saying hi?
This
Just
we're at.
reading the other day, now they're saying.
Oh, it's gonna have you pick your
solar
language?
farms are
Say hi to me.
It's gonna say hi in all the different languages.
Yeah, I was on slide 10. Yeah.
Yeah.
Makeup of the solar, how it intensifies the heat,
I'll be darned. Huh.
and it makes the winters colder.
That's what it says?
So it's rather than doing its intended
Almost
purpose.
there. Almost there.
Almost,
It's
it literally just said
unintended
almost
climate
there.
consequences.
There it goes.
We'll have to sit there.
There it is.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we're back.
Looks like it's coming back up. It'll be a few more seconds. So meanwhile, let's go ahead and get back in order. Or Mr. Barraza needs a towel for the sweat, for his forehead.
What? Okay.
PowerPoint's opening. There we go. Now.
We were on.
Last slide.
Test your clicker.
I got you. So we were? Oh, yeah. Okay.
No, 10, slide 10.
Test your clicker.
Oh.
All right.
You got it.
We are good. All right. Thank you very much. The only thing that might have made my point better is would have been a power outage. Then we could have talked about the project. But
Where's the batteries now?
that's right. Well, thank you to the commission and to staff for dealing with that, and to the audience for your patience. And so, Chairman, members of the commission, I will continue probably in the most important discussion point, which is what has changed. So we went over the fact that we are completely preserving and showing in the plan that we are preserving the road. Another really important aspect about the road too is any impact our project has on the road that requires improvements per the county's discretion, we pay for those improvements. So if we need to widen, pave, structurally improve the road in the area, especially during construction, that is on the applicant. So there's also improvements to the road to maintain access that will occur as well. So the other discussion point were the washes. We had multiple comments we appreciated and took to heart about the fact that we were showing an ability to structurally place solar panels within the wash areas, which is technically possible, but we heard you loud and clear, and we've listened to the public, that type of potential interference was not welcomed. Due to that, you can see between our new site plan and the old site plan that the solar panels, once located within the wash, are now removed. Also, our fencing plan now allows for the washes to remain naturally open, most importantly for water, but maybe equally importantly for wildlife to be able to access and use those. So wildlife is now going to be able to traverse this development through the washes naturally as they are today, while also allowing the county to have the benefit of the solar generation use. So that's another significant change that we've made. Again, built into the application, we can't go back on this. Our stipulations require adherence to this new site plan. Let me talk a bit about the concept of public lands, because that has come up a lot from the public. That was discussed in detail at your March hearing. This map is incredibly helpful for our discussion today, because the true public lands, the Bureau of Land Management that's within the AZ Game and Fish Hunting Unit 41 is the yellow land that you can see mostly to the north, but also to the east and west. In blue is what our subject land is, which is Arizona State Land Department land. This is different. This is owned by the state, but it is not technically functioning as public land the way Bureau of Land Management land would work. Let me give you a couple examples. So state land functions in a manner where it is there to be, under the state constitution, leased or sold at auction for the highest and best use, and most importantly for the highest price, in order to benefit 13 public beneficiaries under the state constitution. Public state land, public bureau land, other public lands, forest lands, all of those do not serve that function, and in fact are preserved for hunting, for recreation, for all those uses. Your blue pockets, which as you can see is quite the minority of land. There's a massive amount of land that this doesn't touch that remains as hunting land. to the north, that blue land is subject to the state land department's ability to sell or lease. So in La Paz County, I mentioned that case. When we were looking at that land, the question from that community was, well, we have multiple dairy farmers that have a grazing lease rights on that state land. What about the grazing lease rights that were in place? And we worked with the agricultural community. Under the state constitution and state statutes, those grazing lease rights come second or are superseded by the state land department's ability to lease or sell land. So one thing that I do want to drill down on today, and I'll be happy to answer questions, is we are not removing public land. We are not removing land that was slated for perpetual hunting or recreational use. What is important is that there's nothing about our project that inhibits your county and your citizens' ability to access that property to the north, to the public lands. That's a legitimate question, and I hope we've answered that so far in the presentation. But we shouldn't be inhibiting the ability to access the other hunting land. We shouldn't be inhibiting washes, and we shouldn't be inhibiting wildlife migration of movements. But the state land department can and will lease or sell this, if not to us, to another developer at some point for some various use. That's a huge distinguishing point. These are not generally public lands. They are in a state land trust. Another point is these are all of the hunting unit water catchments within the area. And you'll note that none of the catchments are within our property. So that's incredibly important too. We are not interfering with or removing or basically muting out one of the catchments. All of those, some are to the west, but you can see that the major focus of those catchments and your hunting and recreational lands are all located toward the north, not on our property as well. And I'm going to skip over these because staff did a great job going over the general area. I put these slides here. I think I've spoken to most of them, but this is really what I already went over verbally is we wanted to have a couple slides on the record, something that you can also look back on and staff has, that helps distinguish. Now, we just held a community meeting on September 13th, open to the public, had a nice turnout, had a good discussion. At that meeting, the State Land Department was able to actually attend on their own and give a presentation. They were virtual, but they did attend and they provided some of the same information. But the biggest, I think, point of confusion or misnomer that I think has been surrounding this case, and I'll blame myself because I'm the one in charge of helping to communicate that to the community and to the commission, is this public lands argument. And we really do hope you can see just how much public land is preserved in perpetuity as true Bureau of Land Management hunting grounds, and really what a small portion. Now, I know 4,160 acres is not a small portion of land. It's a large swath. But when you look at the overall hunting grounds and the fact that we are preserving access, the concerns should hopefully start to melt away that we are interfering with hunting, that we are interfering with recreation. And we've really put in this time as part of our withdrawal to listen to the public and make these changes to our application. So just very quickly, I want to respect the commission's time. I know there's a lot of public comment. You know, as the zoning attorney on the case, I just want to make sure we also point out we do meet all of the legal criteria for a special use permit per staff recommendations and the county's requirements. So let's talk about those real quickly. So we have to make sure that we're not materially affecting or endangering the public health, safety, or welfare. A lot of the changes that we've already made have been made to specifically address this. Traffic is a big concern in this area. This is, you know, a lot of the times the county should and want to hear that we're bringing in a major employer with a lot of traffic, with a lot of ingress and egress. The good news with this case is once it is developed, the number of employees who actually work and traverse this site is usually less than 5, at most 5 to 10. Where you're going to get an economic boost and an economic benefit is during the construction time, and we'll get into that, but that's about 500 plus local jobs. And that is going to be the peak of traffic, no doubt. During construction, we have to have traffic mitigation plans. We have to continue to improve the roads. We have to pay for traffic direction. We have to make sure that anyone that wants to recreate around or north of us can access that land. But once the development is in place, the traffic is almost non-existent, which is incredibly important for this specific area. This is not where we'd want a manufacturing plant with 500 permanent employees. There are no other, fences, obstructions that do not just protect the solar fields themselves now. We've allowed for the wildlife to traverse, for the natural washes to traverse, and we're also here to testify there are no other hazardous or environmental concerns either. There was a question about whether there's any type of leaching into the soil or groundwater. Obviously, we weren't able to answer that question in March, but I want to be here today to testify, no, there is not. These are stagnant pieces of equipment that do not leach any type of chemicals, byproducts, anything into the soil itself. So the development also has to comply with all of the regulations of the zoning district, and of course, I have to credit Javier and his team for sticking to their guns and making sure that our project does meet all the requirements of the special use permit and the underlying zoning district as well. And we have some increased standards as well. For example, our nearest fence is over 100 feet away from Paloma Harquahala Road. That's more than what's required in the zoning ordinance, so in some ways we exceed it as well. Our development, it does not substantially change or materially affect the adjoining property or surrounding areas. That's really the key of these changes we've made. It's not, the test isn't do we change or do we not change the underlying land? Yes, we're adding solar panels, productions, batteries. The subject land will change, minus the washes, which we're going to leave untouched. The question under your zoning ordinance is, do we substantially change or alter the surrounding property? And the answer is now much more strongly a no, because of the changes that we've made, because you can access the surrounding areas, and because we're continuing to work with Arizona Game and Fish to absolutely mitigate and minimize any impact on wildlife in this area. And then also, this is just kind of continued, but we've been working directly with the Arizona Game and Fish Department, even more so since March. We now have a letter and report back from them that's part of the packet. But per the Arizona Game and Fish Department report, they've confirmed that this development, when we talk about impact on recreation, on hunting, the development is now confirmed as outside of important bird areas, critical habitats, the Pinal County riparian area, and wildlife connectivity areas. That's an important conclusion. And also, we have completed an initial cultural resource survey. And at this point, the initial findings are no historic properties are affected by the project. We will have other stopping points. There were some excellent questions in March about other environmental questions, continued cultural surveys. There are many more steps ahead of us before we get to a building permit that will require us to evaluate environmental, but also archaeological and other resources. And then this is basically a test of whether or not we will remain in harmony. And that really has to do with, first of all, what are the goals of your comprehensive plan? And as the Planning and Zoning Commission, obviously, you are looking very closely at your Yuma County 2030 comprehensive plan, which in this case, for this planning area, does instruct or advise the county to promote the construction of solar or wind power plants. So we're merely trying to meet that objective in an area that has the least amount of impact. I'll end with this slide. There were some questions about what is the benefit. What's the benefit to the county? Well, first of all, reliable, ongoing energy needs that have a 4-hour battery life past peak hours is incredibly important. There were questions about where will this energy be sold? Will it all be in Arizona? Will it all be in California? I want to give you a straight answer about that today. That's not yet determined. The good news is we're hearing you loud and clear. But the reason it's not yet determined is I'd be lying to you if I told you we could guarantee it all goes to Arizona. I could have said that today. I'm not going to. I'd also be lying to you if I guarantee you it's all going to go to California. Once these projects get approved and cited and go through, we have to go to bid on who's purchasing the energy. I can tell you that Aeolus has heard the county loud and clear in terms of what your preferences are, and that you want to make sure that there's a power payback, if you will, to your own grid. And so we are absolutely taking that into account. But I wanted to address that question directly. So we've already done a very thorough economic study. We're estimating, and we tried to be conservative. The biggest answer to your question of what the benefit is over 100 million in tax and indirect benefits over the next 25 years. The 500 local construction jobs is probably an underestimate during that time. I think the overall impact of this being a minor land use once developed with low traffic. The state trust land portion to the 13 beneficiaries, by the way, the most important and most common of which are our public school system. Some monies can go to universities. There's also some other interesting one-off groups that are in the 13 beneficiaries. But this project is slated to benefit the public school districts in Arizona. So that's 40 million in rent over 30 years. And the overall investment that Aeolus is making in Yuma County is estimated at 1.2 billion. That's for all of the infrastructure, road improvements that will go to the public, indirect and direct sales tax revenue, and their overall stimulation of the economy. So we did want to be able to answer that as well. I have some other slides, but I'm very comfortable stopping there. I want to respect the fact that we have a lot of folks here to talk. I can answer any questions now or later as well.
All right, thank you.
Mr. Macias.
Hold on. Matias.
Matias, oh, excuse me.
Thank you very much for the presentation, and we'll go ahead and bring it back to the commissioners to see if they have any questions, and then we'll go from there. Go ahead.
Sir, I appreciate your presentation, and I'm really glad you're a lawyer. So many things. This particular slide here, we have no control over the money that the State Land Department Trust collects. They strictly, and if you read, as I did this week, the state trust fiduciary, it goes to wherever they want it. And that does not necessarily mean it's going to come to Yuma County. Second, $1.2 billion, I assume that's mainly the infrastructure. But again, that goes to the state for the most part. You know, that I don't know what the percentage would be, whether it's based on how much power is generated, yada, yada, that sort of thing. This is not a public land issue. There's only 7% private land in Yuma County. You know, we know about public lands and all of this other stuff. This is not the thing. This is the quality and the uniqueness of the wash area that exists that allow animals to move from. Be polite, guys. You know, we don't, it's not a cheering show. That from YPG, the bombing range, all the way to the Gila River, which they have to do in the summers when it's hot. So, and you can't start building little things over here and not affect all of the animals and critters that live within that area. So it's not the fact that you know, it needs to be somewhere else. I spent 30 years working in Yuma County, in Hyder, Aztec, and Date-Linda through the jojoba debacle when the State Land Department willy-nilly leased out lands for jojoba development and allowed the destruction of the natural countryside. I'm sure there's a lot of those acreages pretty contiguous to a lot of this area you're looking at that would be just as suitable for your solar installations, because obviously from your presentation they're not contiguous and you are not indicating that it is necessary that they be contiguous. So they could be on those lands already damaged, leaving this area alone. Anything done to that site by man is not going to be able to be corrected in 100 years, much less after your work is done. I'm glad about your honesty, but it's really not jobs either. You know, 5 jobs is, we can do that. But it's just the whole idea that in Yuma County for 100 years, this has been a prime area for the generations to come, as the State Land Department says that they're providing their fiduciary. The mission of the State Land Department is to manage assets of multi-generational trust in alignment with interests of the trust beneficiaries. These are the trust beneficiaries sitting in this room. And the State Land Department doesn't do a really very good job. So if the State Land Department doesn't do a good job to manage their trust lands, then the people need to stand up and say, no, this is not what we want. And I think that's what you're seeing here. And I'll let that go for now.
Mr. Chairman, I do have one question.
Questions, please?
Yeah, just a question on how this site was chosen other than other sites.
Yes.
What was is there some particular reason?
Yes, Chairman, members of the commission, excellent question, thank you. One of the other things that we were able to do when we withdrew our application, one of the requests from the community was, please take another look at alternative sites and just make sure that this is the right site for this. We evaluated some private land options. We evaluated other state land pieces, and none of them met the matrix in the manner that this one does. So topography is a huge issue. This site's topography, even with the washes, is quite ideal. The proximity to the Hoodoo substation is also incredibly important. So when you talk about things that can disturb the natural habitat, one of the things that we try to minimize, and obviously you want to minimize costs too, but one of the things you want to minimize is line sighting. The location and the length at which you have to place this new 500 kV line. So this site actually is optimal because it reduces the measurement and the need to connect to the Hoodoo substation to a 2.8 mile stretch. Other sites we were looking at were in some cases 3 or 4 times longer than that. And we would be actually, I think, influencing the natural area, potentially some Bureau of Land Management area to make that stretch of line. And so there were multiple reasons why this site has always been ideal. And if I could address, Chairman, just one comment from Commissioner McDermott, is that okay with you?
Yes, answer your question. Yes.
Appreciated everything you said. I know it wasn't really a question. I can hear where your vote's going on this, but I do, regardless, want to let you know, one of the first things I noted when I listened to the March hearing was your testimony. I think you said you had background in planning, and you're probably the most outspoken person about protecting the washes. And I will tell you that as our team listened to that after the fact, that was the day the solar panels were removed from the wash. So I understand the project may not be to where you want it yet. It may not be in the ideal location, but we are listening. And our key concern here was to preserve the washes, which we've done in the new application. So I did want to assure you of that, but thank you for your other comments.
Any additional questions from the commissioners? Go ahead.
I've got a couple. It's state land, and when does your company project to bring this back up for sale as you can with state land, with all the credits that you're going to build up on this particular piece of property?
Would we resell or release?
State land down the road, you can build up credits on the development you've done on the land, and then you can bring it up for sale if you want to, and you build up enough credits, nobody can outbid you, very simply.
I see what you're asking. Yeah, right now, we are only contemplating a lease of the land, so we will not have the ability to sell the land in any manner. So this entire site is going to be subject to a lease, not a purchase. And I may not have made that clear in my presentation.
Intention of the company to bring it up for sale down the road.
It could be. It's not on the map.
Possibility.
Yeah, it's not on the map right now, but these projects can be sold to other operators. That's probably natural in the business.
2 more. What's the expected life of this project? And if there is a projected life, how do you clear this material and clear the
Thank you. This is probably the biggest discussion point, or one of them that came up at the community meeting on the 13th. So the life is a minimum of 30 years projected. We would project even more and would replace and update that technology, and no foreseeable need, but it's not a short-term investment. It's at least 30 years. We have to post a bond and be responsible for the entire deconstruction, decommissioning, cleanup, revegetation, renaturalization of it, should it ever be decommissioned. So we have to post a bond. We are responsible for that. Aeolus or a predecessor or a successor would be responsible for bringing it back to it. So if it was decommissioned, it would not be permitted, and there'd be a bond posted to ensure that there weren't just a graveyard of solar panels, right? That would be the community's concern. It has to be revegetated. It has to be brought back. It has to be brought to a point where you would not be able to tell that there had been a solar plant there.
Mr. Rice, go ahead.
You said you had extend a 500 kV line. Where are you taking that to, and what's the distance?
Sure. I do not have a direct line, but let me pull this up. So it's approximately 2.8 miles to our southwest is the Hoodoo substation. So the new KV line would travel about 2.8 miles, generally to the southwest, if that answers your question.
That's Welton Mohawk, I think, isn't it? Mr. Chairman? Yes, sir. Having a heavy background in environmental management and safety, my biggest thing is that I actually was a safety officer for the Dateland solar field, and they destroyed that land. And you talk about the washes and stuff here, and I appreciate your honesty 100%, trust me, I do. But the construction equipment and everything they're gonna destroy those washes. And by law, you cannot destroy a wash, you cannot change a waterway anyway. And so my question to you is, if it was approved, how would you stop from destroying those waterways when you're doing construction?
It's a great question, Chairman, members of the board. It's, first of all, a highly regulated industry and construction project. So we are under ongoing observation, permit approvals with the waterways, 404 permits, federal permits. So we can't just willy-nilly in any way do our construction in a way that would damage the washes or change the flow. So my answer is I know we are just highly regulated on that, and it's all part of your final building permits, construction plans. The entire construction team, anyone on site, would have strict adherence to preserving the washes. But you're absolutely right. It's probably, from an environmental standpoint, it's absolutely our greatest concern and focus is the washes.
And that's my biggest concern as well. Just so, I mean, you're up for a big challenge, I'll be honest with you, because that's, like I said, I think that's what a lot of people are here for, but I do appreciate your honesty, like I said, I really do.
Appreciate the comment.
So how have things changed from when he was out there and things were destroyed to what you're going to want to do?
I can't speak for another project. I can tell you, I know this is more of a personal anecdotal comment, but I'm very picky about my clients. I'm very picky about who I work with in any industry. This is a developer that's making commitments through the county, through the Arizona Game and Fish Department. When we're receiving comments from groups like the Yuma Valley Rod and Gun Club, we're going out, we're meeting with them personally multiple times. We may not be seeing eye to eye, but we're listening and making sure that these types of improvements and what's important are going to be incorporated. So I have the utmost confidence, and also it's my testimony today, that we're committed absolutely to protecting these issues that are important to the county. So that's on my reputation, but what's more important than my reputation and my statements is Javier and other members, and also our federal permit requirements, will build in stipulations and requirements of adherence. There's massive fines and penalties for disturbing washes, for not adhering to construction plans. So, but appreciate the question.
Thank you. I do have a question for staff, and probably some of the commissioners that have been here longer than me. That other solar plant that is to the, Agua Caliente, is that land similar, different, or how was that when it was approved in 2005.
Mr. Chairman, it is similar.
No, it was not.
It is similar and desert terrain level, and it was with the special use permit 0905. So that's
Was it farm before?
yeah.
Please,
It was farmland.
please.
As far as I can remember.
It was farmland. It was farmland. It was not,
Yeah, I'm familiar with
it was
the
not
original.
native vegetation.
Okay. I'm asking that because I'm seeing that and I've never actually been that far
The
into
plan
the.
director is it was followed.
Follow it? Okay. Thank you. Go ahead, Mr. Rice.
One more question. Out of the 4,100 acres, what percentage of it will actually be in panels?
I don't know the answer to that question. Let me see if our staff, do we have a kind of an open space calculation offhand, Brett? We don't have that figure, and I don't want to make one up. I will tell you, it's reduced, and even the number of acres that's in your staff report has reduced because of the changes we've made. So our overall open space has increased, our overall lot coverage has decreased. And I'm happy, Chairman and Commissioner, to get that answer to the full commission and staff following the hearing, because it's a good question.
Any additional questions from commissioners? No? All right. Thank you, sir.
Chairman, thank you, members of the board, and thank you, Commissioner Bryant and Mulhern. I know this is your district, so thank you for your service.
Thank you, and we might want to call you back up after we hear what kind of a job you have done with your people you've met with that were opposing it.
Sure, sure. I'm not going anywhere.
I have to say, you're much more convincing than the last guy that was here in March.
He was a little quiet, wasn't he? Yeah. Yeah, well, he didn't, we were waiting for him to stand up and talk. Thank you.
We called his name.
We called him twice.
All right. So with that said, I'm going to open this up to the public. I'm pretty sure. Hold on, Sid.
All right, Big Johnny.
Hold on. Let me go ahead.
Mr. Chairman, are you going to implement the time limit?
Yeah, I'm going to do a
That way we
2-minute
can set
time
the
limit,
timer.
and by the show of hands earlier, again, just for the record, how many are against the project still? Okay, so I understand everybody how many are for the project? Okay, so what I would like to do, and in respectful to everybody's right, we're going to start with 5 speakers right now. 5. He stepped up fast. And unless there's something that hasn't been already said, maybe we'll see if someone could add something different to the next speaker. What we don't want to see is the redundancy. Thank you. But we understand your point of view if you're against it, and it's just if you need to add something that wasn't said by the prior speaker, that'll be great. It will be a 2-minute timer. 2 minutes.
3.
But do you guys want to have everybody speak at 3 minutes, or we want to allow more people to speak?
I'll hurry.
I'm trying to give everybody more opportunity to speak. That's why, because otherwise.
We're done, Johnny.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll start off with the 3 minutes and see where we go. How many speakers? If there's any redundancy. Okay.
It's gonna be. This is still not working.
Yeah, so you-
my phone, so it's gonna be a loud ding ding when it's done. But
Okay.
before he starts, he had something.
I can do this in less than 3 minutes, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. And then considering that some of the stuff is probably already set up here, and then just a reminder to say your address and your name at the podium. Okay.
John
once-
Fugate, 2428 West 13th Place, Yuma, 85364.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Mr. Chairman, before I start my presentation, whether that's state land, BLM land, whatever land, right now we can access it. It's state land, and if you don't own a hunting or a fishing license and you wish to access state land, you have to buy a permit. So those that hold either a hunting or a fishing license on that state land has the right to access that, just like the other land the lawyer mentioned without access. All right.
Go ahead.
Dear Chairman Rosales, my name is John Fugate. I'm a lifelong Yuma County resident and a life member of the Yuma Valley Rod and Gun Club. I'm here today as I was on March 28th, respectfully requesting the Planning and Zoning Commission approve a denial recommendation for case number SUP 23-11. Nothing in my mind has changed since my prior testimony and the prior testimony of many of the others that are behind me. After all public testimonies were heard, the commission unanimously voted to send a denial recommendation to the Board of Supervisors. If the supervisors accepted your denial recommendation and voted in the majority to not issue said permit, the Houdini Solar project would have been stopped. Houdini Solar was obviously aware of this situation. They pulled their application prior to the previous meeting, which would have finalized their request. That's what I believe. I believe the three most important facts for this commission sending a denial recommendation to the supervisors for a second time are the following. Loss of 4,000 acres of wildlife habitat located on public land in Yuma County. Loss of public access to that very land in Yuma County. But more importantly, the Rod and Gun Club's refusal of Houdini Solar's $250,000 offer in exchange for supporting their project. Mr. Chairman, that concludes my presentation.
Thank you. Thanks.
Any questions?
Yes, I have one, Mr. Fugate.
Yes, sir.
Can you expand on number 3? They offered you 250,000, you said? Or
They did.
offered to donate some money to you?
100,000 in within 6 months of this year and 30,000 a year for 5 years.
For what? To donate some money to you to back them? Is that what you're saying?
Well, I've got copies of the email if you request.
No, I'm asking you, what was it for?
Well, I guess you're wanting my opinion? Because they're behind me, they can answer that.
Oh, we'll ask them back then. That's
Okay.
fine.
In my opinion, it was, that they were gonna support the club, but we had the votes and they didn't. I
you, Mr.
mean,
Fugate.
that's the way I feel.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Who will be next?
Jerry Hagerston, 28672 Lagerda Lane, Welton. And I would ask that you not approve this for same reasons that he addressed. The dollars that were offered, I consider a bribe. But if you look at the solar panel itself, the minerals and what is mined to construct these solar panels, it is really destroying Earth. The other thing, up until at least a year ago, 80% of the solar panels came from China. Now, they are being manufactured in the United States, but if this is approved, I'm sure the contractor will go with lowest bid. It's probably contractor. As far as the construction jobs to be created, it would be awarded to a contractor, not necessarily local. They would bring their crew in from wherever, Minnesota, Oklahoma. It wouldn't be local. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, my name's Michael Snyder, and I spoke in the March meeting also.
Mr. Snyder, can you give me your address? please?
3686 South 18th Avenue.
Thank you, sir.
I was going to read a email I sent to all the supervisors, but I've heard so much other stuff here, I got to get cleared up. We've heard so much about state trust ground, and the impression the gentleman gave us from Houdini is that as the public, we don't have any say on what happens in state trust ground. That is not true. The reason that the state and the state of Arizona, we have a board of supervisors and a planning and a zoning, is to not have projects like this shoved down our throats. And that's why you have so many people that are so vehemently opposed to this. I've been going out to the area my entire life, and if any of you have an inkling to vote for it, if you had been out there, you would never vote for this. And I've been hearing how Houdini is going to protect the washes. Big deal. The whole area is destroyed. Once you close off those washes and put solar panels all around it and level all that ground out, that whole area is ruined. And like somebody made the point, Yuma County, we're landlocked now. We got between among Indian reservations, I don't have to, military reservations, we're run out of places to go to. We don't need less places like this. We need more. And there's tons of us, and we're going out there for 4 generations, hundreds of us. And I mean, it's part of our lives. I mean, I got grandkids I'm taking out there now. And there's one other thing I'd like to point out, maybe two. I'll make it quick. I think I pointed out to you in the last meeting. If you go out there, there's a monument that has a list of about, I think there's 7 or 8 soldiers that were killed out there when Patton was training to go to North Africa. Every one of those washes that he's going to protect, they're going to protect for us, they're named after those soldiers. You know, and those washes, that whole area is going to be gone. White Wing Ranch has been destroyed. That's 3,000, and it's private ground. I mean, this is different. This is state trust ground. White Wing Ranch is gone. That's 3,000 acres. It's all those solar panels. The south side of this place, there's another 3,000 acres that are going in now. I mean, do we really want Yuma County just solid solar panels? I mean, seriously. And then on top of that, I don't care what they say, that power is going to California. We all know it's going to California. And does anybody in the right mind think, if the roles reversed, that California would say, oh yeah, we're going to do this for Arizona. We're going to destroy beautiful, pristine desert so somebody can flip it on public trading, make a ton of money, and screw everybody over in their local community. Anyway, as you guys can tell, I respectfully ask you vote no.
Would you feel different if this is going into agriculture?
You know, the way I feel, if it's private ground, it's totally different. You know, I hate to see anything. Tell you the truth, we could spend an hour talking about solar panels. I'm not sold on solar panels, period. But I think if you own your own ground, you pretty much should have control of it as long as you're not harming your neighbor. But this is totally different. This is I don't care what, this is public ground. And that's why we have local control to stop stuff like this. That's, any other questions?
Thank you, Mr. Steiner.
Anyway, thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Anyone else? Against?
Come on, Doug, start it up.
You're up front. You're up, sir.
Up front, Doug.
That might be a good idea if they could line up in the middle. That'd be perfect. There you go.
For your phone.
I just gave her my notes, but that's okay. I'll get yours.
Thank you.
Once you get it. Yeah, I do.
Is the
For my, you need
the checklist their
Go ahead, sir.
Mr. Chairman, my name's Douglas Beach. Address is 5184 East Goldwater Drive, Yuma, Arizona. I'm past president of Yuma Valley Rod Gun Club for 8 years. I am a volunteer for the Arizona Game and Fish Department. All those water holes that they showed you, those are kind of my responsibility. I spend majority of my summer out there checking water holes. I spend a lot of time in the desert. People think I'm crazy, but I enjoy it. Summertime is when they need me the most. Let me address the washes. The washes are critical. Mule deer habitat, quail, bird habitat. If you look at number 5, natural environmental conditions. The antelope, the Sonoran antelope, is an endangered species in the United States. First introduced as an endangered species in 1984. It's the first ungulate, which is a cloven hoof animal. largely mostly because of Game and Fish, but Rod and Gun Club had a lot to do with that. At one time, we were down to 11 animals. Now, we're somewhere around 400 to 500 animals. This is their prime habitat. The antelope, I've never seen antelope in a wash. They're on the flats. They're a plains animal. Some of our water holes out there were down in washes, and we had to adjust those and put water up on top because the antelope, for some reason, won't go down into the washes for water. They're scared of it. They just won't do that. They want to be on the flats. If Houdini has been out there in the last month, the storm that we had September 2nd did a devastating damage out there. A lot of the railroad trestles that are west of this site are gone. There's a tremendous amount of water flowed down that area. It was 3 miles west of this site, but that is in a floodplain, to my knowledge. If that water would have fallen 3 to 4 miles east of there, that solar plant wouldn't be there tomorrow if it was built today. It was amazing. I don't know how they're going to have access, but if it's up Harcahela Road and through that first big wash, White Wing Wash we call it, they're not going to get semi-trucks through there. I know. I've spent my life in a semi-truck. I don't know where they plan on having access, but that isn't going to happen with semi-trucks fully loaded. Pickups, yes. I was out there, roughly the third or fourth hauling water to a catchment north of there, and we were struggling to get 1,000-gallon tanks through there with pickups through that first wash.
All right, Doug, the timer went up, and there's other people behind you. I
Okay.
hate to interrupt you,
Okay.
but we could. Thank you very much.
Appreciate
Thank
your
My name's Tim Thompson. My address is 11741 East 27th Place, Yuma, 853367. I would just like to say three comments on some of the comments the attorney representing Houdini made. And he spoke of respecting the washes, and the washes were a major objection last March, but that's certainly not the only objection. Most of us here, or all of us here that are opposed to this, are opposed to the project in its entirety because it would totally disfigure the desert out there. But as far as respecting the washes, piggybacking on what Doug said a little bit about the recent storm we have, which is common in the summertime, those washes out there are not going to respect their project. And those washes will go anywhere they want to go. They uproot mature mesquite trees and wash them down the stream. So the washes out there are not going to respect this project. He spoke of decommissioning. It's going to take a lot of heavy equipment to put that project in. It's going to take a lot of heavy equipment to take it out. Anywhere in that area on state trust land, BLM land, if you drive off of existing dirt road, it's considered wildcatting, and you will get a citation from the Bureau of Reclamation and or the Game and Fish Department, because they say those tire tracks will last hundreds of years. Well, assuming this project were to last 30 years, when they take it out, that mess is going to be there forever, because you can't do it without bringing in heavy equipment. And the last comment, they spoke briefly about revegetating after this project is decommissioned. That's an impossibility. Simply getting the types of plants they need to plant would probably be impossible. And if you transplanted young mesquite trees, palo verde trees, creosote bushes, all the other bushes, if you transplant them out there, they're going to die. You couldn't care for them enough for them to survive. So it's just going to be a barren mess. And that's all I have to say.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
David Weatherholtz, 12378 East Del Verde Drive. My voice carries, so I promise I'm not screaming at you. I am looking for you guys to vote no for the following reasons. If you just follow the money trail a little bit from Houdini Solar Project. During the meeting with Aeolus, the developer of the Houdini Solar Project, one of their staff members mentioned that the materials were required to manufacture in the U.S. to comply with the Inflation Reduction Act of 2022. What does that mean exactly? Houdini Solar will be developed with loan guarantees funded by tax dollars, our taxpayer dollars, and this project will generate electricity that we, the American taxpayer, must then purchase. They propose to build this project to generate electricity on undisturbed desert lands. These lands are accessible to the public with proper permit and licensure, just as Mr. Fugate mentioned. The proposal is for this project to operate temporarily out of this area for a period of 30 years. And I think that word temporarily is very important, especially to me. This word temporary might mean temporary for the occupation of the project, but the damage that it will cause is most certainly not. I'm just something about me. I'm from the Midwest. I'm an Ohio boy, so I'm a transplant here. I had a few misconceptions about what this place was as a desert. I thought it was a lifeless wasteland where nothing could grow, and that couldn't be further from the truth. You've got large deer, you've got large pronghorn, you've got bugs, birds, reptiles, all that form a cohesive ecosystem operating out of this area and others like it. And they talked about revegetation, and I agree that the revegetation is not going to be that simple. And if they have a company that can revegetate this place, I'd like to get their contact information because maybe they can do something about my hair. Anyways, with the damage from what this project will do, this area will take what many people think of as a lifeless wasteland. I certainly did. And it will turn that misconception into an irreparable reality. That's all I have. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Weatherholt. And as a transplant myself, I agree with you.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Next.
My name is Kerry Meister. I'm chair of the Yuma Audubon Society Conservation Committee. And first of all, let me say that I am here to stand with the Yuma Valley Rod and Gun Club in their opposition to this proposal. There are a lot of questions about this. Even if this project were to be approved, these questions would remain. For example, are they going to blade the site of all plants? Are they going to make sure that their equipment doesn't carry in invasive plants like buffalo grass and Sahara mustard? Are they really going to be as careful as they would have to be on, say, a BLM's Bureau of Land Management site? I really doubt it. I don't see that in the plan. How do they know that the washes won't flow into the area they build in? Because of climate change, we're facing much more violent storms, which carry much more water in a short period of time. So I'm skeptical about their plan to avoid the washes. Why do they even want to build a solar plant in a bunch of washes? It looks like two big ones and a lot of small ones. Got to get on to my next point, which is the plants. The Rod and Gun Club has expressed appropriate concern about the animals. I also want to express concern about the plants. The animals need the plants. So if you're just going to blade it flat and get rid of all the plants, what are the animals going to do? Was there consultation with Native Americans? If this were federal land, that would be required, but I see no evidence of that. It's one thing to contact your state historic preservation officer and ask them if there are archaeological sites. But to Native Americans, the land is much more than archaeological sites. And so are there any concerns among the different groups who have been in this area, such as the Quetzan, the Mojave, the Cocopah, the Peepash or Maricopa near Phoenix, the Pima or Acamolo O'odham, the Tohono O'odham, the Hyased O'odham, the Sand Papago. There obviously needs to be consultation with these Native American groups because we're done with the days when you could just do business and forget about the Native Americans. Finally, this is not the right place to build a solar plant. If you look at the development evaluation checklist from the materials that you received for this meeting, you'll see that this project received a score of 270, which is moderate and not really, well, it says there are questions, but if you look at the environmental categories, it fails every one, virtually every one of the environmental categories. So that sends a message that there's a problem with this project. I hope the proponent will look into more productive approaches than just going with state land where regulation is less strict than federal land. And we'll look into things like agrivoltaics, building solar collectors over fields, covering canals with solar, and putting it on parking structures and on houses.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Appreciate your time.
Leslie Boggs, 3538 East Corso, Cavallo Lane, Yuma. Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. My name is Leslie Boggs. My husband Nathan and I are members of the Yuma Valley Rod and Gun Club. I've been asked to read a letter sent to the board by Kyle Kuchel due to him being out of town. It's kind of lengthy and I think it's in your package, so I'll just kind of get the key points out of the letter. The environmental impact, the fragile ecosystem, including habitats of endangered species, faces grave peril, endangering the rich biodiversity of our region. Community and youth, our youth, not only from our state, but also from neighboring states and tribal communities, will be deprived of invaluable outdoor experiences and vital environmental education opportunities. Natural floodwater flow. There is potential for disruption in the natural flow of floodwaters, which could have far-reaching and detrimental effects on the land and surrounding communities. And access to public land. The proposed project would significantly restrict access to nearly 100,000 acres of public land, undermining the public's ability to enjoy and appreciate these communal natural resources. I'll let you guys, I think you guys have probably read his letter. With that being said, I can confidently say that everyone present this evening representing Rod and Gun fully back Kyle Kuchel's letter. We, like many in this room, spend much of our winters in 41. My 13-year-old son Jacob and I actually have deer tags this season in 41. Approving this permit would be devastating to our community and my family, not only destroying our desert, but also our heritage and decades of traditions. We all want Houdini Solar to know that our community and our club cannot be bought. We are not for sale, and our values and integrity cannot be swayed by your bribery schemes motivated by the extraction of profits from our county. The harder you push us, the harder we'll fight to get this denied. Thank you.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and Board. My name is Deborah Power of 5390 West 7th Street, Yuma, Arizona, Yuma County. I'm here on behalf of just being a great citizen of this Yuma County. I'm proud to be here. I'm a fourth generation, maybe fifth now, from this county, and I come from a family that cherishes, respects, and works on very hard to maintain what we have available for our future children. I've been a big part of Yuma Valley Rod and Gun Club for several years. It's in my heart and my soul to make sure that the youth in this community are aware of what we have and opportunities available in the outdoors. We work hard to get our kids out there, to get them learning conservation, to teach them how to respect our community, how to respect our desert. And with this project coming in, it's really going to hamper that. We can still get to the access to the lands as they're promising us. That is true. But if you have a 10-year-old young person in your vehicle and you're driving and you're on your way to this wonderful campsite where we're going to get to go and sit where it's dark, there's no lights, and the stars come out, and perhaps a kit fox could come to our campsite. There we get to reminisce with families and friends who've been out over this outdoor all day long enjoying this environment. There is where we get to tell stories, is where we get to tell about how we fell and tripped and skinned our knee, how we get to share stories about how we got stuck and we worked together as a family and friends and community to get us out. This is the environment that we're raising our children in. It's important that we keep this value in our Yuma County. A project like this does not allow that. I have another fact I'd like to share with you. A fellow person came up and spoke about the money trail. Just a simple fact, and then I'll leave you. The lease payment to Arizona Land Department is $40 million over 30 years. $40 million over 30 years. That's a lease payment per year of about $1.3 million. The revenues from these leases on the state lands support 13 state agencies' budgets to reduce the tax burden on our Arizona residents. What Arizona's tax saving would be per year, if we do the math quite simply, the annual lease payment is $1.3 million. The current Arizona population is around 7.2 million. That means the estimated tax saving per person is going to be about 19 cents. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Power.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman. My name is Kimberly Kale. I think a lot of you know me already. I'm the Executive Director of the Yuma County Chamber of Commerce, and that's who I'm actually speaking on behalf of here this evening. Our address is 180 West 1st Street, Yuma, Arizona 85364. In determining whether or not the Chamber should support EOLA's efforts, research was done on various factors and its impact on Yuma County businesses and communities. I've heard a lot about its economic impact, but what I've not heard about is the economic impact that we've had of our power companies over the last 50, 60, 70, and longer years. A February 2022 study by E3 showed the growing population and the closing of power plants are creating a significant and urgent need for new resources in the Southwest region. Maintaining regional reliability will hinge on whether utilities can add new resources quickly enough to meet this growing need and will require a pace of development largely unprecedented for the region. The report also concluded that existing power plants will not be enough to keep the power flowing in 2025. So 2 years from now, we could start seeing brownouts if we don't do something soon. 2033 is the other year that they looked at. Those were the benchmarks. And without significant new additions to our power, we are going to start seeing power shortages. I spoke with officials from both SRP and APS because I've heard a lot of concern from the community about whether or not this was going to be sold to California, and I wanted to verify whether or not it could even be purchased here in Arizona, or if what I was hearing was correct and it was definitely going to California. What I heard was from SRP. SRP is implementing transformational changes to the power system in response to unprecedented growth and traditional resource retirements. They're already investing heavily in solar and are purchasing solar from third-party companies like Eolus. APS has recently completed 2 battery storage units in the area, which help store solar energy to be used in the evening and nighttime hours. APS is committed to being 100% clean and carbon-free by 2050, while providing reliable and affordable energy to meet our customers' needs. The goal includes a nearer-term 2030 target of achieving a resource mix that is 65% clean energy, with 45% of our generation portfolio coming from renewable energy. In addition, APS plans to exit from all coal-fired generation by 2031. So in 8 years, we have to come up with a way to replace all of our coal energy that we're using right now. While much of this change will be brought about by APS and SRP themselves, they are already partnering with third-party providers such as Eolus in order to meet demand reliably and affordably. In addition to meeting our increased demand for energy, we have already heard from multiple people of the economic impact. It is for these reasons and more that I'm sure that Yuma County 2030 Comprehensive Strategic Plan includes a goal to promote the construction of solar wind panels in the Dateland East County planning area. This actually would help us meet that goal and would help keep our power on. This is also why the Yuma County Chamber of Commerce supports this project and are asking you to actually vote yes. I feel like I'm in the minority here. Our mission in Yuma County is to help the businesses prosper and grow. By adding our potential energy grid and adding to county funding, we can continue growth in Yuma County, which is good for business and our community. Thank you for your time.
Mr. Chairman, can I ask some questions?
Of course.
Yes, thanks for coming. When you say that the Yuma County Chamber of Commerce supports it, do your members support it? Did you poll your members? How do you know how your members feel about this project?
The way our process works is our board of directors votes.
Did the board of directors authorize you to come and speak for it?
Exactly. I can't come and speak without their authorization.
Yeah, that's a good thing to point out. Has this company or any of the representatives met with the Chamber of Commerce? Have they offered them any money?
They have not offered us any money, no. They are a member of the chamber, but
When-
they have not offered,
when
but
did
they're
they-
not paying any more than any other member.
So they're just paying their normal membership?
Exactly, yes.
Thank you.
Of course.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, and I am not against solar. I am against this site. So they can pick, there's 183,000 acres of state trust land in Arizona, and most of it's over in the Hyder area. Move the darn thing, and I think you would have great support.
Thank you.
We don't, this is not personal, but this is important for Yuma County, and it goes way beyond a power plant. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next.
Thanks for letting me come up and speak. My name is Rebecca May Pope. I'm at 3715 East 32nd Street. I'm a member and membership chair of the Yuma Valley Rod and Gun Club. When the solar folks came in to meet with us at our September meeting, yes, they did offer the club some money, as Mr. Fugate mentioned, and I just wanted to point out that when I asked them if our club would not support them with their community support offer, if they would still support our club on water hole projects, wildlife projects, and they would never specifically say yes, that they would still help us. They only said that they would continue to help other groups within the area with wildlife or community support. So that was another thing that kind of triggered me to not want to pass this, because here they are wanting to support us now and grow community support. But then when I asked if the club would not stand behind them and support their project, they would not say that they would help us further. So thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Maple.
Evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. My name is Pat Headington, address 2087 West Chico Lane. I'm president of the Yuma Valley Rod and Gun Club. We appreciate you folks hearing these conversations this evening. One of the things I think I would like to try and clear up is, or maybe outline a little bit differently, is you've heard one term here used tonight, and that's public lands. So there's a definition for public land, and it's typically provided by BLM. While the gentleman who represents Aeolus came up here and talked about state trust land and its purpose, they can sell it, lease it, whatever it is. I'm more than willing to debate the gentleman that the State Land Department's mission is to generate revenues for the 13 different budgets those revenues are assigned to. So while state trust land may not meet a specific definition of public land, the question is, does the public have access to state trust lands? And the answer to that is yes. I'm going to read from the State Land Department website. Individual permit, $15 grants a single person access to state trust lands, certain types of recreational activities, including camping, bicycling, bird watching, GPS recreational activities such as geocaching, hiking, horseback riding, OHV use, photography, picnicking, and sightseeing. There are also permits available for a family, for a small group, and a large group. So this land is accessible by the public. Obtain the necessary permit and you can access these lands. A hunting license is seen as a permit to access state trust lands. Additionally, a couple other things I would like to just touch on briefly. The National Wildlife Federation drafted a resolution for consideration by its national convention, encouraging solar projects to be constructed closer to the urban centers that need that electricity. Why? Because the constituents from around the country woke up and recognized projects just like this one are gobbling up thousands of acres of our valuable habitat from one end of this country to the other. Dollars and cents. I know that has come up, and why we didn't accept the money. Bottom line is simple. Offering money to us doesn't offset the damage done to wildlife or habitat. You could quadruple that money, make it $1 million. It's still not going to offset the damage that's done to that habitat or the wildlife. Lastly is one of the biggest conundrums that I see that continues, and this is from the top down. We've heard the current administration talk about 30 by 30, conserving 30% of our natural lands by 2030. However, they improved the Inflation Reduction Act, which provides public tax money for green energy projects from one end of this country to the other. How are we going to accomplish that and save our natural habitat? We encourage you to recommend a denial as this project heads to the Board of Supervisors. Thank you.
My name is Bill Ball. I live at 11576 North Latanya Drive in Oro Valley, Arizona, Tucson, for general purposes. I drove down here today specifically for this meeting. My family goes back in this Yuma area a long time. One of my uncles, in fact, was one of the first Caterpillar drivers to take a piece of machinery over Telegraph Pass. My mother died at 101 years old. Most of her life was right here, and right out here in the desert, in our piece of heaven. That's what I call it, our piece of heaven. From what I've heard and what I know about what's going on right now, this company doesn't have an eyedropper of knowledge about how we humans feel about our desert and our desert environment. They don't know anything about the flora and fauna. They could care less about the flora and fauna. The only thing they care about is satisfying whatever is needed to put through their project. My family, I personally have 77 years of fond memories of the desert area out here. And in fact, one of my first hunting successes was right out there in this very area. My family live in Tucson, San Diego area, are over here all the time. This is these memories that are made and have been made and hopefully continue to be made in this area will last forever. I can only encourage you to disapprove this project and preserve this little piece of heaven that we have out here. It was mentioned that we're landlocked. If you give a little bit's going to be taken. How much are you going to give? When will it be gone? The best thing to do is preserve what we've got. I thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
I think that's enough.
This is gonna be, before you come up, sorry, is there anyone that is for the project that hasn't spoken? For the project that has not spoken? Okay, go ahead. No, I just want to get a head count so that way we could.
Pat Corey, 1300 South Avenue, 64E, Dayton, Arizona. Been the superintendent of the Hyder School District for 32 years. Now I'm, after Antelope High School got a little trouble, I came out of retirement and I've got Antelope now. I'm here from a different perspective, and everybody in this room, and I know I'm not supposed to look at them, these are good people. I've known a lot of them forever. I want to kind of flip the switch here on the other side. I've been out there forever. That's our playground, Unit 39, Unit 41, the Dayton people. That's where we go. We've been out there forever. We watched the town die. We had to try to get a pig farm. They had a pig farm out there. Jerry Cullis and them had over $1 million already invested. Everyone approved it. People from out of state came in and killed it. They don't like pigs. Maybe they're going to go to China. Who the hell cares where they go? Maybe the power's going to go to California. Maybe it's going. Guys, you tell me everything in Yuma County that's grown stays here. Come on. We're grown people. Our lettuce, our cauliflower, our broccoli, a lot of the businesses in town are centered in California. We need to get off that. We need to get back to, I respect people that are worried about the environment. I respect people that are worried about their hunting area. I'm an avid hunter. I'm not as lucky as most of these guys. I never seem to get drawn for the elk or anything good, but I can always get a permit to hunt quail and dove. But I put in for everything. I want you to know that I'm looking at the tax side of this. If you drive, and again, people say, oh, you're going to be the victim. If you look at the schools here, drive by Gila Ridge, look at Cibola, look at the elementary districts. You have a corridor of tax infrastructure, and that's how counties are run, that's how states are run, that's how schools are run. It's called assessed valuation. Yuma County is very poor, with the exception of this little corridor. Crane District is poor. Somerton, San Luis is devastatingly poor. That's why they can't build a school. They have to get state funding, and then they only give you like 80% of what you need. So they get a kind of a box. Truly, I'm talking totally the truth here because I've been in this business forever. South County gets screwed. East County, we can't even get a road graded. We have Main Road. Danny, Mr. Chairman Brian, you were on the Board of Supervisors. You couldn't even get our roads graded. You tried. Remember that. We couldn't get. We go down, school buses down, washes all the time. There's thousands of acres of cleared land everywhere. They didn't have any trouble destroying Antelope Mountain, A Mountain, Hyder Mountain, Aztec Mountain when they need rocks. We're getting too emotional over clearing 4,000 acres. We've cleared 40,000 acres out there. There's citrus that's disappeared, all kind of things. Right now in Yuma, they're clearing land everywhere. Okay, so does that mean I'm over? Then we got to the taxes.
Wind it down, please.
Well, bottom line is this. I don't think you guys have had very many $1.2 billion projects come in front of you in Yuma County. We need infrastructure. The actual tax assessment would be over $100 million the first year, once this is fully on. You know what $100 million would do to the tax rate for Antelope Union High School, for Hyder Elementary? You have AWC tax, you have Hyder tax, you have Antelope tax. If you had a business along the freeway or a farm, that's a difference from $40,000 to $10,000. You're talking thousands of dollars for everyone that lives on that side of the Telegraph Pass. I just want us to think about that. And all these projects that we're looking at, everyone's against everything. But we've got to think about everybody on that side would have massive tax breaks when we get a project of this size, and the whole county would. We need infrastructure.
Thank you, Mr. Corey.
Okay,
Appreciate
so
it.
that's just the other side of the story, guys.
Thank you. All right, we'll wind it down. One more. Go ahead. One more. This will be the last. I think we get the consensus, and we'll go from there.
Jim Williams, 12513 South Driftwood Drive. I'm here not speaking for or against this,
but I'm here representing the off-road community. The off-roading community. How many of you are familiar with the Arizona Peace Trail? Okay. Can I ask, is this the latest map for this project?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Please focus on this area right here. I served on the board of directors for the Arizona Peace Trail for 6 years. I left the board in March of this year. And when I left the board, I had a meeting with BLM in March, or in February. And at that point, we had discussed this project in our Arizona Peace Trail board meetings. And it was agreed, BLM and the Arizona Peace Trail agreed that the Arizona Peace Trail would be preserved. And BLM put it upon the developer to work out a solution. Because as you see, the Arizona Peace Trail goes through this. And I'm assuming that this dotted line is the fence that the gentleman who made the presentation referred to. Am I correct?
Mr. Williams?
Am I correct?
The dotted line is the Palomas Road, I think they said?
No.
No, the one around it?
Dotted red.
Yeah, the dotted black.
Yes.
Dotted red is the
No,
road.
I'm talking about the black,
Yeah, the black one,
black
correct.
one. Is the fence?
Yes.
Okay.
That's not the fence, sir. That's the...
The boundary
buffer.
of the boundary of the
Okay,
state
but
lease.
he also made a statement about fencing around this. So I'm assuming that there is or could be a fence put up across that trail. BLM told them that they had to preserve the Arizona Peace Trail, and that they could not divert it to Arizona Trust Land, because Arizona Trust Land will not allow the Peace Trail to be on it, that they had to use BLM land for the trail. Looks to me like that has not been addressed with any of you people, and they sure aren't addressing it. So my request, Mr. Chairman, would be that you amend the responsibilities or what has to take place for, if you were to vote to approve this, that one of the things is that they have to get a written letter from BLM stating that they are preserving the Arizona Peace Trail in this area.
Thank you, Mr. Williams. We'll make a note of that. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. All right. We'll bring this back to the commission. I think we've heard comments on both sides. Any discussion, questions for the applicant? Do we need the applicant back up, or do you guys have any questions?
I have a question for staff.
Okay, go ahead.
Are you aware of what Mr. Williams just talked about? I couldn't see where he was pointing, so I'm not
Okay,
sure.
Mr. Chairman, that black dotted line is the buffer that we use to notify. So it's 300 feet outwards from the property lines, and we use it to select parcels around it to notify. That's a 300
I
buffer.
wasn't sure where he was pointing, so I didn't know.
Right,
You know, I
right.
couldn't tell where he was
Mr.
pointing.
Chairman, Maggie Castro, Planning and Zoning Director. It appears that the Arizona Peace Trail that the gentleman was referring to is outside the boundary of the subject property.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Any questions for the applicant?
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah,
go
could-
ahead.
Could you explain the donation?
There you go.
Yes, I'd be happy to. Would you mind putting the presentation back up? No, I have, and also Chairman, to your discretion, I'd love to be able to provide some other rebuttal testimony as well, but I do appreciate the question. I'll respond to that first. So,
Mr.
Excuse me,
Chairman?
sir. Thank you. Go ahead.
So testimony since the beginning of us working with the community has always been very passionate, and I 100% respect that. And we expected passionate testimony tonight. The only item which honestly troubles our team is the word bribery. So I appreciate the question, so we can bring that up. Aeolus, there was a comment that we don't, know a single dropper full of, what's going on in Yuma County and the Yuma community. Aeolus has been interacting with the Yuma County community since 2019 regarding this specific site. We've been interacting, working with the community, listening to the needs of the greater community. And I can't speak for other solar developers, but when Aeolus enters a community, and when we talk about the $1.2 billion investment, that includes other investments in community stakeholders, in schools, in colleges, and in local clubs that are focused on the environment. So the word bribe was used, and I think what's odd about that is bribes occur in the dark alleys of deceit. These are open discussions between Aeolus and your community about what we can do to help. In a lot of situations with community members that have zero vote or say in this matter at all. So we actually outlined some of the ways that Aeolus has already contributed to the community in our application. Again, not something in a dark alley, something in the light, something openly discussed in our application. I can give you a couple examples. We've committed donations to Dateland Elementary School that has nothing to do with whether or not you or the Board of Supervisors approves this case. That's a guarantee. Antelope Union High School as well, Arizona Western College. And let me speak to the 250,000. So we've been invited multiple times to meet with the Yuma Valley Rod and Gun Club. And there's been continuing back and forth in those meetings about what do they need? What does the community need? What are the environmental impacts of a project like this? How do we offset that? That conversation evolved into two different discussions. One was about the need for the maintenance of water catchments and maybe the need for a new water catchment. If you look at what was discussed in that meeting, 100,000 of that was offered to either create a new water catchment or to maintain existing water catchments. That's all out in the open. And by the way, that was offered regardless of whether there was any support and whether the county approves that regardless. And then the second one was 150,000 to help fund the quail hunt, the annual quail hunt, which we also understand is a really important local event that has educational aspects. So this is all out in the open. We were invited by the Yuma Valley Rod and Gun Club to talk about what we could do for the community. I feel like that trust has been somewhat violated tonight because we've just been trying to figure out what would help the community and what would help these individuals. So I'm happy to answer any other questions, but that's exactly what that was about. Chairman, I'd love to bring up a couple other rebuttal points, or if you prefer I only respond to questions, it's obviously your discretion.
Questions only, please.
Okay.
Yeah. Any additional questions? Here, no? Thank you, sir.
Good. Thank you.
Have a good day. That said, I'll bring it back to the commission for any discussion or action.
Well,
Go ahead, Mr. Black.
you want to comment or you want to bring a motion?
Just a few comments because I know last time I kind of took the lead and I said it's a no-brainer, because I'm the one that said no-brainer. And, it leaves me feeling like it's the wrong place. The biggest thing's the habitat there, I think. And washes, yeah, like the rain that we had this year, yeah, it could wash everything out for sure. But, I am thoroughly convinced after listening again to the testimony of the Yuma Rod and Gun Club that, and I'm not going to make the motion, but I'm going to say I would vote for denial of this project just because of that. I don't think we've met the criteria For the habitat, for water, and mainly for the habitat, yeah, and I understand solar, I don't have a problem with solar, I just think it's in the wrong place. And that's my point.
Thank you, Mr. Black. Any additional comments, or anyone would like to make a motion?
I would like to make a motion.
Yes,
that-
ma'am.
To vote to deny special use permit case number 2311.
Second.
I second.
We have lots of seconds here. We have a motion and a second on this, both of them on this side. All right, any further discussion on this motion?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I would like to just say that this was certainly a lot more appealing with the applicant coming
Yes,
down and
absolutely.
sharing with us, and
Definitely.
and I don't believe there's ill intent on part of that applicant. They're looking for a place to do a project. But I also believe that solar as an industry has become all of a sudden it's got caught up in the crosshairs of politics, right? I mean, it's the New Green Deal and the left that's pushing solar, and you start to get resistance. So it's bad timing as well, because I was just reading articles today as I was researching this project. There's now folks saying that solar panels are actually adding to climate change problems because they increase the temperature in the desert, and then they lower it in the winter. So it's actually it's not a done science yet, I guess. I guess we've learned over the last few years, science continues to change, doesn't it? Depending on politics normally.
Oh, and those opinions change.
Yeah,
Who knows
opinions
what
change.
science is?
But I think the owners of this property are the state, and the owners are the residents of Arizona, and I think the people closest to that property ought to be able to determine what this property is used for. And Yuma Countyans are the ones that are close to this property. I'm not convinced that the construction jobs would come to Yuma, even if this project was built, because it is probably closer to Maricopa County than it is Yuma County, and I'm not sure we would experience that. The property tax we'd receive over the life of this thing comes out to about $4 million a year. That's about $20 per person in Yuma County. It's not a big deal maker. It's less than 1% of Yuma County's budget. And so I will support your motion and your second to deny this project.
Before I call for a vote, I just want to thank the public for coming and presenting their opinions. We do have a couple more items after this that we do have people in other rooms, so I do ask after the vote is done if you guys could and switch rooms or in an orderly fashion, that way the other people could come in. We have like 4 more items there are also people waiting for in the public, so I appreciate everybody coming, and hopefully the outcome, it's depending on which side you go, you guys go there. So with that said, we have a motion, we have a second. All in favor for the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Any against? All right, thank you. Have a good night for those that were here for this item. Welcome to stay for the next items. We'll give it a few minutes for everybody to transition over.
Thank you, guys.
My house.
How much they gave to the
You
tape?
didn't get passed out, so. You didn't need me to pass this out? Did someone ask you?
Okay, so it's.
Okay,
Employee
okay,
don't
that's
even
fine.
live in Yuma County anymore.
Sure.
Tired up to,
Yes, I can give him one.
We're taking a 5-minute break while people transition out, but we do want to do this as soon as possible. If anyone needs to go to the restroom on the commission, take a restroom break. Take one real quick, please.
Welcome. Take care.
If he continued, I would have
Because,
told
you
him
know,
that I knew
it-
that. Ready? Everybody ready?
Okay.
Let's get the meeting started.
Okay, thank you.
Can you let Eric know we're gonna start right now? Let Eric know we're gonna start.
Live? I didn't know it's two different sides. All right, cool. Good evening, everybody. Thank you for those that have been waiting patiently in the other room or for hearing through the other case. We're going to go back to the September, what are we again? September 26th? We're still doing September 26th Planning and Zoning Commission. We're going to go ahead and just some clarifications. I just was informed that one of the items will be continued, which would be item RZ 22-24. We did receive a request from the applicant to continue this item. So we'll have to do a motion for that, correct?
Yeah,
Once we open
also the item number 8, minor amendment case 2206, which they together, and rezoning case 22-24. Item 8 and 9, sir.
Are the ones that are continuing?
Yeah, the applicant has requested to continue those to a future date, not defined yet.
All right. But also, item numbers, the one you gave me for 07 was,
Yeah, item 10 will be rezoning case number 2307. Yeah, they're making a change on that.
but it's also being continued then, correct?
No, that one.
Okay, that's what you threw me out for now.
Yes.
Okay, all right, cool. All right, so with that said, let's go ahead and just
Got
to.
one case left.
Yeah. Or.
You need to take it. Oh, you got, okay. I was like.
Let's go ahead and we're gonna jump over to item number 9 then, so we could go ahead and make a motion to continue it, or do we need to make a motion, or the request itself is sufficient?
Mr. Chairman, you need to make a motion to table the item.
Continue.
Number 9?
Table.
Table or continue?
Table. We don't have a date for the continuance yet.
Okay, table, okay.
We could table motion or number 9, please.
Okay,
I'll
so-
second that.
Mr. Chairman, is items 8 and 9.
8 and 9.
Items number 8 and 9, please.
I'll second that also.
So just for clarification, for point of record, items number 8 and 9, which is minor amendment case number 22-06 and rezoning case number 22-24, there's a motion to table the item.
Correct.
Yes, sir.
And we have a second as well, correct?
Yes, sir.
All right, all
Mr.
in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Did, was there somebody recusing themselves?
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, I'm recusing myself on minor amendment case number 22-06, rezoning case number 22-24. I'm currently employed by the agent for the applicant.
All right, thank you for noted for the record. So all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any against? All right, so item number 10, which will be rezoning case number 2307. That'll be Mr. Barraza, and you could go ahead and give us an update on that as well.
Mr. Chairman, again, I'm recusing myself from rezoning case number 23-07. I'm currently employed by the agent for the applicant.
All right, thank you. Mr. Barraza?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. Javier Barraza, senior planner, presenting rezoning case 23-07. This is a request to rezone the rezoning of 7.94 acre portion of a parcel that has 570 gross acres in size from rural area 10 acre minimum to general commercial, and a portion 283 acres to recreational vehicle subdivision, assessor parcel number 198-11-002, and also 128.36 acre portion of a parcel that is 152.91 gross acres in size from RA10 to RVS, a portion 14.15 acres to high density. I would like to mention that the applicant has request to remove the request for the high density, the 14.15 acres to high density, so that will be removed from the request. And also 7.93 acre portion to C2 on assessor parcel number 198-10-001. This project is located in a foothills planning area, located in the vicinity of the South Frontage Road and Avenue 14E alignment, east and west, Yuma, Arizona. The intent is to develop a mix of residential and general commercial uses. This is the vicinity and zoning map showing the subject, the portions of the parcels to be rezoned. They are crosshatched, and it goes as follows. Highlighted in red on parcel 198.11-002. This is a 7.94 acres from RA10 to C2. This is the entire parcel outlined in red, which is 570 gross acres in size. This blue portion is to be rezoned to RVS. And on parcel 198-10-001, 128.20 just 36 acres to RVS from RE10. This is outlined in red is the entire parcel. And this is the portion that is going to be removed from the request. 14.15 acres to R-3, high density, is being removed. And 7.93 acres to C2, regional commercial. Properties on the west are zoned general commercial, and is the location of aggregate mining operation. Parcel 1 and 4 also to the west are zoned RE10. Parcel 105, 106 are within the Desert Foothill State number 2 and are zoned low density residential, 12,000 square feet minimum, and are improved with site built residences. Parcels 77, 78, 79, 80, and 99 are within the Desert Foothill State number 1 subdivision, are zoned low density residential, 20,000 square feet minimum, improved with site built residences. Parcel 97 to the west is on R120, and this is desert terrain. Parcel 98 to the west is on RA10. In desert terrain, parcel 2 and 3 and 22 to the south is on RA10 and are in desert terrain. Parcels 5 and 28 to the south are zone RVS, are in desert terrain. A group of 23 parcels within Las Barrancas. Number 1 subdivision are located to the south, are zone RVS, and all parcels are improved. Most of the parcels are improved with site built residences. Parcel 89 to the south is zone C2. Parcel 2 is zone RA10. This is an illusion of the subject parcels. In orange, you will see the portions of the parcels to be rezoned to RVS. In red, the C2, and in cyan is the part that is being removed. That was the original request was to meet a high density R-3. This is the site plan provided by the applicant, pointing out the areas to what it was going to be rezoned. Is a view looking southwest of the subject property. Is a view looking also southwest of the subject property. Looking southeast of the subject property from the alignment of Avenue 14E and South Point Road. Looking west from the northwest corner of the parcel on the east. Looking northwest of the subject property from the southeast corner of 40th Street and Avenue 15E. Now looking north of the subject property from 40th Street. Staff received 44 letters in opposition and a petition signed by 61 residents. Received comments from the following agencies: ADOT, MCIS, and Rural Metro Department. A time when staff presented to the board, there were 2 rezonings originally. Rezoning case 22-22 for parcel 198-11-2, which is just north of Las Barrancas, received 630 letters in opposition signed by 652 property owners, 16 within the notification area and 492 outside. This is the general area of the parcel number 2. In red are the properties that were in opposition. And within the buffer area are the ones within the zoning area, just mostly in the Las Barrancas number 1 area. This is like a zoom out version of that. The other case, which was on the parcel on the west of 14E, is parcel 198-10-001, and the previous case number was rezoning case 22-25. Also, this one received the same amount of letters in opposition, but this one received 3 within the notification area and 505 outside the notification area. This is the zoom out version of the area, and this is the zoom in version. These were the opposition received on the previous cases. Staff recommends approval of rezoning case number 23-07, subject to the following performance condition. Within 60 days of board approval, the owner or agent shall do the following: provide an ARS 12-1134 waiver, record a navigation disclosure statement, record an infrastructure disclosure statement, record a range disclosure statement, and record a schedule for development disclosure statement. Also, the following schedule for development: number 1, within 10 years of approval by the board, the filing and approval of a tentative map as a subdivision of parcels 198-11-002 and 198-10-001 into 6 or more lots shall be completed. A traffic impact analysis shall be completed in accordance with Yuma County Public Works Standards, Volume 4, Section 4.5, during tentative map review. Number 2, all improvements required by the TIA and all weather crossing access across Fortuna, Watch, and 40th Street shall be completed in the timeframe specified by the TIA. Mr. Chairman, this concludes staff presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Barraza. All right. Any questions from the commissioners? None? None? Applicant? Is the applicant inside? Why is it got dark over there, huh?
Yeah, can we get that light turned on, Mr. Chairman?
They're trying to, but I guess it's motion sensor.
Just gotta jump up and down.
Yeah, they're working on it.
I don't,
From the dark to the light, it's like.
I don't trust
There
Mr.
we
Dahl
go.
in the night there.
Good evening, Commissioners. I'm Kevin Dahl with Dahl Robinson Associates, 1560 South Fifth Avenue, here representing the developer, Granite Yuma. I will be brief, as it is getting late. This is the same development. We've addressed the density issue. The density, to be clear, is limited to 5 units per acre. So it's no longer the old zoning. It's the new RVS zoning that was recently approved by the board. The zonings that we've withdrawn are essentially the high density, and we're working with Footage Utilities with trying to get utilities, make sure utilities are addressed. By the way, there is a representative from Footage Utilities here that will come up and address what they've been doing since their purchase of Far West. They're here tonight. Again, this was the first step in a long process of steps. So the zoning, if the zoning's approved by the board, the first step would be the traffic study. And the traffic study would address the traffic concerns along with the all-weather crossing on 40th Street. That's addressed in the conditions of approval. Water and sewer will be addressed. They're being addressed as we speak currently. The drainage will be addressed as we move forward. So all of these issues, we can't get to the next issue. We can't help with traffic. We can't help with water and sewer. We can't help with drainage. We can't help with anything until we get through the zoning. It's the very first step. So that's really what I've got. It's nothing's really changed from before, except the density has been limited to 5 units per acre.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Ron.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Dahl, could you elaborate on some of the changes, just so everybody knows what changes you've made, just that way we don't got to go through the whole gamut again?
Chairman, so the density is limited to 5 units per acre. So that means there's no RV parks. There's no small developments.
No
It's
condominium or
essentially-
apartments?
There's no apartments. No apartments. It's residential, recreational vehicle subdivision zone is what it is. But it's limited to 5 units per acre, which was a huge concern at the first hearing. And so this will look like any other. It's really, it's going to be like a 6,000, 7,000, 8,000 square foot subdivision.
What about the big washes that are running through that?
So the washes, Mr. Chairman, the washes will be addressed in a drainage study. That drainage study will be a massive study. We can't get to that step. And the reason we're zoning this property in its entirety is the developer needs to be certain that he's got entitlements for the whole property before he starts spending literally millions of dollars addressing the drainage, the water and sewer, and the traffic.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Dahl. Mr. Bryant, did you have a question?
No, Ronnie Commissioner Van Wy, Commissioner Van Wy covered my thoughts, yeah.
Yeah, anybody else from the commission have any questions? All right, thank you, Mr. Dahl. Thank you. Hang out. This time I'll go ahead and open up to the public. If anyone wants to speak for or against this item, please step up to the podium. And please state your name and address for the record and start the timer, please.
My name is Jay Meyerdirk. I'm representing the Yuma Audubon Society. I live at 12540 South Colina Avenue, which is, if you look at the RVS there in the lower corner, my house is just off to the right of that. The main problem with this is we have no idea what the applicant's asking for. We just learned today that he could build up to 2,500 dwellings on this proposal area. But so what? I mean, we have the main concern from the Audubon Society is the Fortuna Wash and the other floodland areas. If you could put on the map there that showed those floodland areas. We're not saying that the developer doesn't have a right to develop in this area. We just have no idea of what he's asking for other than a blank check. No, I'd like the one that shows the wash flood areas. That one, thank you. When comprehensive, the staff made the statement that this was in compliance with the comprehensive plan and the foothills area. Our review of the comprehensive plan, the land use map, indicates that this area should be a residential development. But when you look at the policies and the priorities for that area, there is a strong statement throughout that these areas should be preserved as open space and flood control, and they should be maintained in a natural state. We understand that the applicant cannot proceed without knowing what's going on, but this is our last chance to have a decent public input. He just stated that from here, once he gets the zoning, he's in like Flint. He has to do some traffic studies, he has to do some drainage studies, but the public doesn't have input into those. We don't have a say. He can engineer, he can put in a cement line channel, he can basically solve it in many ways, but we, the people that helped develop the comprehensive plan, wish to have these areas preserved in open space. I've just handed you a 10-page memorandum that goes into explicit detail in over 40 areas where the comprehensive plan is recommending that these floodplain, the Fortuna Wash floodplain and the associated floodplains are desired to be preserved. There's more than, as I said, more than 40 of those examples throughout the general plan, the comprehensive plan. When you look at the Fortuna area plan, the environmental plan, the environmental element, the open space element, the recreational element, and we haven't touched on the transportation, circulation, utilities, and that type of thing, because we have nothing to relate to, nothing to compare, nothing to comment on. We found numerous examples where the plan is specifically calling for preservation of the open space area. We did a extensive evaluation comparison with the county's development evaluation checklist, and that's included on the last page of your handout there. We found our evaluation was significantly different than that done by the county staff. There were miles apart, not just a few points apart.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate that. Great comments. Ms. Castro, just for clarification and for the public, for commissioners, thank you, sir. Thank you. Rezoning is normally the first step. And then can you explain what other, because I just want to make sure everyone understands, they do still have in the future public input when this comes back for subdivisions or for after the traffic studies and everything. Can you explain a little bit on the process more in detail?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, once the zoning is approved, or if the zoning is approved, the next step, like the applicant stated, would be the submittal of a tentative map that shows the proposed layout of the subdivision. With that tentative map, they will also have to show the layout of streets, how they're going to address the flood hazard areas, and then any improvements to the infrastructure, or where water and sewer would also be obtained for sewage disposal and potable water. The tentative map will be on a Planning and Zoning Commission's public hearing agenda. For tentative maps, we're not required to send notifications to properties within the 300-foot radius or within the vicinity of the subject property, but they are all public hearings of the Planning and Zoning, all hearings of the Planning and Zoning Commission are open to the public. They're published online. So the public would be able to, would be notified of when the tentative map is up before the Planning and Zoning Commission. Once the tentative map is heard by the Planning and Zoning Commission, the next step would be the filing of the final plat for consideration by the Board of Supervisors. Final plats are not considered a public hearing. They are scheduled for the consent agenda for Board of Supervisors action.
So for the planning and zoning, we still have that come around. And also for clarification, for the size of this parcel, I mean, we're talking about how many acres? 500?
500 and something.
An average, a subdivision normally consists of how many acres? 40 acres, 80 acres at a time?
I'm sorry, I didn't.
Normally, when we see these applications come in, it's 40, 80 acres at a time, or what comes in?
Yeah,
when it is-
Mr. Chairman, normally for this amount of acreage, the development of the property would be phased. Could be 5 phases, it could be 10 phases, just based on the amount of acreage. It is not going to be done in one phase.
Right, okay. Thank you. I just want to make sure we clarify the rezoning process and then the tentative map process for future input from the public.
And that's evident by the developments that took place south of 40th Street. You see Las Barrancas, you see the ravines, you see FME 27, you see FME 27A. Those are all considered phases of
The original rezoning of the
Yes.
500, whatever it was back then. Thank you, okay. We'll continue with the public, please. Your name and address for the record, please, thank you.
Mr. Chairman, thank you for the opportunity. My name is Ann O'Leary. I reside at 14730 East 40th Place. And I want to just start with every single comment that the residents made from the gun club with respect to the washes apply here. It's no different. In fact, this map right here, Mr. Commissioner and Commissioners, all of this water sheds from the Gila Mountains into this area. And residents here look at this, right, that live around here, and this is an artist's rendition. This flood zone runs from here to here as a raging river when 1 or 2 inches of rain are received. Our questions are...
And the reason is for the mic, for the
Yeah.
people that are listening online, that's why.
Sure. Our questions are, how on earth can you go from an RA10, which is 1 home per 10 acres, to RVS 5? That's a 50 times increase in density in what's clearly a floodplain. And this is not, like I said, the worst of it. When it rains 1 or 2 inches, that goes from 40th Street to South Frontage Road. There's also an issue of a site plan. We sat through this when the applicant came in January. It was actually January 24th. Here's the planning and zoning agenda from that day. And this commission at the time heard a case out on Martinez Lake. It was 1/3 of an acre. It's case number 2221. I alerted staff that we'd be bringing that up today. And it was 1/3 of an acre. 3 neighbors came in protest, and the entire commission voted to turn it back to staff and request a site plan because neither the commission or the 3 homeowners that came could identify what exactly was going to be done on that plot of land that was 1/3 of an acre. This is 1,000 times that amount, in excess of 1,000 times that amount. I am respectfully asking this commission to send it back to staff. At a minimum, do a site plan to show us, is it 1,000 homes? Is it 2,500 homes? How are they going to possibly navigate? The floodwaters, for those that live near and around, are we going to be impacted? There's so many questions that have not been answered. The infrastructure, we have to talk about that later. Why are we approving potentially 2,500 new homes when, thank you to the staff, they put together all of the homes that have been approved by the commission and the Board of Supervisors in the foothills area that are not constructed or occupied yet? It's 1,400 homes that are still not built or occupied that are going to dump into our infrastructure, which is failing, by the way. I hope Foothills Utilities gets up and talks about the sewer system because it is failing. There's not a resident in this building that doesn't smell raw sewage in the Foothills area. And I mean, with respect to the sewer system, the general manager of Foothills Utilities addressed Simmons Town Hall meeting, called it a 1970s Pinto. The state, Arizona Department of Environmental Quality, a couple of years ago said it's a very dilapidated sewer system right now, plus the 1,300 new homes coming in, plus this. Please put a pause on this, send it back to staff, get a site plan at least. Look at that solar presentation. They at least had a site plan, how they were gonna put solar panels in or near the wash. We don't have anything. We have a magical picture that doesn't really portray when we get 1 or 2 inches of rain. Thanks for the time.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Hello, Mr. Chairman. My name is Gabriel Martinez. I'm the Foothills Water Manager, Operations Manager for Foothills Utilities. And with respect to all of the residents from Foothill, which people we serve, right? We have addressed a lot of the issues and most of them. So our wastewater plant, which is section 14, we just upgraded it and now we have the capacity there to get 1.3 million gallons of sewage there, which is right now during the high season or the busy season, we only have a high flow of 900,000 gallons there. And so we have the capacity. I don't have any slides, sorry, but you guys can go on our website, foothillsutility.com, and there's a section where we put all the improvements and we put all the construction that we've done. We've actually invested to today about $7 million in the sewer system. We got rid of, on Foothills Utilities, there were 7 lift stations that were there before. They were old, they were breaking down. We eliminated them. We only left one, which is one of the major ones, which is on 40th Street. And that's a force main, so it's not open. They don't get any sewer smells from there. We also invested almost $1 million in an ozone equipment, and those are at all our existing lift stations now. And we also invested in instrumentation that reads gas levels, the H2S levels. And there's been a couple of residents by section 14, which is off 40th Street, and we put our instruments out there to read the levels of H2S. I sent those results to the county, to George Amaya, and the only thing we got from there was 1 part per million, which is really nothing. And so we've done all this to get rid of, also we had violations from ADQ, which we did not create. We inherited those from Far West. And up to date now, we eliminated all of those. ADQ came out, they verified everything, and so those violations are gone. Same thing on the water system. We're doing, by next year, we're gonna invest $20 million in the water infrastructure. That's including smart meters, redoing our pumps, talking about growing our water plant. But right now we have 5.6 million gallons that we treat every day. But we actually have the capacity there to treat almost 6.5 million gallons. So we do have the capacity. I know some of these issues that have been coming up. I mean, we've been working on them. We also have 3 Vector trucks now that they're going to start cleaning the sewage system, the infrastructure. It's not easy. We got to get permits to dump all this grit. It's not something we could just pick up and take to the dump. It takes a while to get all the permits, to go through ADQ, go through the landfill. So we're working on that, but that's something that it's going to happen. It's also part of the EPA program, which is the CMON program to clean up the system. So yes, with respect to the residents, they could go on our website. They'll see all the improvements that we've been doing there, but we do have the capacity to take the sewer and to provide the water. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Martinez.
Mr. Chairman, can I follow up some questions with you?
Sure.
Is this piece of property, this 400 and some acres, is this in your service area now? Is it in?
It is in our water service area, so it is in our CCNN water service area.
Water.
It's not in our sewer service area yet.
So this is another safety check for the residents. I mean, before this could come into your system, even before you could offer service,
Right.
you would have to go through and prove that.
Well,
had-
the developer, I'm sorry for
You would have
interrupting
to
you.
prove to the Corporation Commission that you have the capacity to service this area, or you couldn't provide sewer, and there would be no development. Is that fair?
That's correct. The way it works, so is the developer, he applies for the CCNN, and he goes before the Arizona Corporation Commission with his application, and then they come back and they review us if we have the capacity. So if we do, then they grant the CCNN the right for us to serve them, and then that's how it works. So we don't apply for it directly. The developer or the person that owns the land, they apply before the Arizona Corporation Commission.
But you still have the Corporation Commission as a safety valve, that if there's not enough capacity, they're not going to be able to develop this property.
Correct, yes.
Thank you, Mr. Martinez.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I have a couple of questions as well. And as far as the your hydrogen sulfide levels, what you're talking about, your H2 levels,
Right.
I'm an environmental specialist, so I know all
Okay.
about all that. But in reference to like the stormwater damage or stormwater drain off and everything, how does that affect your drain levels and your flow levels when it comes to your sewer systems?
Yeah, we see very little flow coming into our system. I mean, not really any difference at all. Most of the storm systems are where it is paved, which is actually where you pick up most of your inflow or your infiltration is where it's paved. But most of those areas, the county has the retention areas, and most of the water diverts to there. And the manholes are in the middle of the street,
Right.
which is where the crown is. So everything
goes away.
goes
right.
away from it.
And so with this being said, as the young lady said, there's 1,400 more homes roughly that have been approved. And your infrastructure now will support 1,400 more homes should they be built today, right?
Yes, of course.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you.
Well,
Well,
thank
actually,
you, Mr.
the
Martinez.
hydrogen sulfide level, even the city of Yuma stinks. What it is just water flow is all it is. Just water has to flow down. It's not nothing on them. It's that's human
Thank you,
nature.
Mr. Martinez.
All right.
Thank you.
That's Yuma.
That's something you guys could do for a different meeting. Go ahead. Your name and address, please.
Debbie Harkness, and I'm at 13740 East Driftwood Drive. And before I get into your item number 10, the main reason I was here was for item 8 and 9. That is literally my backyard. So can you, because I'm a little naive, since it was tabled, can you please tell me why it was tabled and how we're going to be notified for any other future hearings for that?
Mr. Barraza will be able to.
Mr.
make it.
Chairman, it was tabled at the request of the applicant.
And when it comes back, if it comes back in a future date, they'll be notified the same.
Property owners will receive a letter notifying them of the Planning and Zoning Commission's public hearing.
So will come in the U.S. mail, a letter
Yes.
stating it? Okay.
Same process as current.
Okay, because I have a lot to say about that. And I've seen a lot, I've taken a lot of pictures as to what's going on 40th Drive. At the end of 40th Drive, there's an access road. And just all the way down through that is one of Far West's sites, sewage site. And the county is allowing them to use an access road as their main road. And my understanding is they were supposed to take 44th and pave that and get an access in there years ago, and that's not been done. And it's creating a mess back there. And nobody's maintaining that 40th access road. There are potholes. There is so much rocks and dirt on the entrance to that access from the big trucks. And dust, they're supposed to be watering it. So I don't have a lot of faith in follow-up on things that people say they're going to do, and it's not getting done. They're speeding on that road. They're going 50 miles an hour down a dirt road, and the county won't do anything. The county came out and they dumped the pavement, excess pavement. When they paved those roads, they dumped it in the desert into a big machine, and all over the desert on 40th and that access road. And when I asked them to come and pick it up, because I would have been fined $100,000 for that, no one's done anything to do that. And I just want to say that I can attest to the raging rivers because, like I said, we are right there. And this last rainfall, it was a river, and it's really bad. And so I would ask you to please send it back with a site plan. Please send it back with if what they're going to do about it to protect us. You know, they're taking away all that environment again. I watch all of the kids come in there on their ATVs with their parents, having a blast, picnicking over there, and that's what they want to destroy again, all of the animals and the wildlife. I don't understand. I just don't see the need for it. And I want to say that I'd like to see it go back. We need more information. I can't understand. I read this document, and I look at this, and none of it seems to really match up. So I would just ask that you please consider pausing it, sending it back for some more information for us. And I definitely want to be here for those other two that got tabled. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Mike Ollie. I live at 12133 South Ironwood. Been in Yuma for about 12 years now. I can't tell you how many public meetings I've been to regarding the sewer and the water. I'm in the water business. I've been in the water business all my life. I'm now retired out here in wonderful Yuma. And I'm glad to hear people talking about capacity, because it's always about capacity. The idea that you would approve a project before the capacity is there and just trust that it's going to come in, that's what's caused the problems we're having today. That's why it smells places, because the sewer capacity is not there. The reason the water slows to a trickle in the morning out there in the foothills area is, and it's a pressure and a volume problem. They don't have enough water, obviously, or that wouldn't happen. When everybody's taking a shower, the water pressure goes way, way down. The water volume goes way, way down. Things cool down, people are out of the shower. Now we got a little better water pressure, but it fluctuates daily. One of the requirements for water is that they have a certain amount of pressure, period, that they have to abide by. And to have that pressure, they have to have volume. To have the volume, they have to have capacity. My recommendation would be get the capacity first for both of those things, sewer and water, before, and to get on the back of the last thing, electricity, you got to have that too. Get those things taken care of before you approve a project with this many homes, especially when you don't know how many homes it is. Thank you for your time.
No handouts. My name is Marilyn Whittington. I live at 14631 East 42nd Street. It's the closest to the mountains that I have been since I moved here in 1985. I started at 9E and South Frontage Road. It was barely paved. I then moved to Fortuna Road, south, behind CVS with another developer. What I want to say is, when I moved here, at that intersection, I guess there was an overpass there, but it was barely paved, and the only store, it was my favorite store, was Olson's Market, if any of you have been here that long. Good old Olson's Market. Then we kept moved to Foothills Boulevard. Another major intersection, of course, was built. Then, my poor husband, then we moved again to 15E area. So South Frontage Road has been our road since 1985. There you go. I've seen a lot of growth. I've seen a lot of change. And actually, growth and change is great. It's inevitable. So why fight it? I don't believe in doing that. But I do believe in smart planning. And that's what I'm asking. And I'm so sorry I did not address you as chairman, vice chairman, and commissioners. And thank you for allowing me this time. Growth and change is fine. And of course, we needed it in the foothills. I do know that I have a lot of friends in the city who have never been out there, and I can tell you that someone actually asked, what is the Fortuna Wash that I hear about? And I said, you need to please make a visit out there, please. And if you make a visit during a rainfall, do not go in the water, of course. But it is incredible, and I am one of those people that when it rains more than half an inch, I run down there because I just want to see how much water is going to be flowing. It is a natural thing for water to flow, especially during rain in a desert. So let me start with, I am here to voice my opposition. You have removed and tabled, I guess is the way to understand that, tabled 2 of the parcels. One was, on the other cases, one was medium density, and I believe the other one is urban density. I did look that up. That is not 5 residences per acre. Those are 25-acre parcels. So I will not address those. I will say it took my 4-wheel drive vehicle to take me out there to find the yellow county signs. The other large 23-07, I will wrap this up, is of course the largest parcel, and what I will ask you is it needs a conceptual site plan. I have to say I was impressed with another presenter earlier. I'm asking for a conceptual site plan. I understand the rules and regulations on how this process goes. No, I don't understand it. I take that back. I'm trying to understand it, but to not actually give us, the residents, and you, the commissioners, and next is our Board of Supervisors. I think they asked for that in March also. We're still waiting. Do I dare bring up, I love it. I love your 2030 comprehensive plan. I love especially the page about the foothills. It says it all. I ask of all of you, please review that page. It's not just about the foothills either. I'm just going to say that location, location, location is something I learned many years ago when I kept moving. And not all terrain is made to be developed into apartments. Let me just start with that. Soon we'll have apartments on the Gila Mountains. I don't know. So I thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, if we could just make a statement to make sure that everybody in the audience knows that the only high-density zoning that was going to be talked about tonight has been pulled, so there is no apartment construction on the table. So if you're against that, you've already won. So, so to just make sure everybody knows that the apartments are gone.
For clarification, it could be apartments, townhomes, it could be several different things. It could be apartments,
My name's Elaine
townhomes.
Agee. My address is 14823 East 50th Street. And I'm here to basically oppose, as it stands right now, the rezoning from the RA10 to the RVS. We know change does happen and rezoning will happen, but I think you have a very big responsibility. This is a large rezoning district. Back in the 1960s when Hank came out and bought the acreage, it was about 3,000 acres. And we're talking, well, this parcel is 570 acres or 433, which they want to develop. That's a huge, huge impact for the foothills community. And that, as we've already mentioned, that could bring in 2,000 to 2,500 homes. That's an awful lot. And that's a big consideration for you to think about the future and all the aspects as far as the wash goes, the water, and the utilities. But I would like to, first of all, say thank you very much for doing your job, but would you please come out and visit us in the foothills? See what they're actually talking about. I know a couple of you have come out and walked the wash, considering the fact that it is such a huge area that we're all discussing. And I appreciate that, because there's a lot of considerations. We've got consideration with water flow, flooding, a brief history of some of the flooding that's gone on in Yuma. In Yuma is 1976, Hurricane Kathleen, 77, Doreen, 78, Nora. In 1989, there was a 24-hour rain accumulation of 5 inches. That's worth 2 years of water for this area. And September 30th, there was Hurricane Rosa, and I'm not sure if this is the exact one, but at one point in time, we actually had water coming down the frontage road where it impacted the underpass on Interstate 8, where we had to close it down. They had to redo the terrain, and I think they had to work on the columns. And then, of course, we had Hurricane Hillary. We didn't get a whole much from that, but a week later, we got a record 1.67 inches. So yes, we have a huge potential for a lot of flooding in this particular area. And that flooding, we're at the very edge, right from everything that comes down from the mountains. So please come out and visit. Take a walk, see what's happened, what they were talking about, because we live out there, and this isn't a commercial development, this is residential. And every single one of, I don't know of anybody who's really personally in favor of this particular rezoning as it currently stands. So I understand that you guys recently redid the RVS guidelines to include 5 units per acre, which is really great. But if 5 homes in 43,650 square feet actually equals about 8,700 square feet per lot. That's not really big. That's adequate for a lot of people, but maybe we could consider something better, like RV4 or for that area. So I've given you some information on my comments, but I backed almost everything back up to the comprehensive 2030 comprehensive plan. And specifically, I go to section 3 on land use, section 7 on environment, on 8 on water resource adequacy and actions, and 9 on safety. And if I don't finish my spiel today, it's written out there for you. But land use element, F5, not cause the quality of life in foothill residents to decline. F6, not outpace the development of infrastructure to support it. F7, lower residential density is required. Thank goodness you got rid of that idea about doing a high density. F8, impact of water supply and sewage treatment systems will be specifically analyzed and taken into account when considering any future land use designation change. So, and with a concern about water, we have a lot of water pressure issues during the wintertime when the winter residents come down.
I let you go back a little bit. Thank you very
Did
much.
I? Oh, I'm so sorry.
Oh, like 50 seconds ago, but no
I'm
problem.
so sorry.
Thank you.
May I make one other comment?
One last comment.
Okay, with the septic system, I don't plan on the fact that if we add an additional 2,500 homes, that I can only flush my toilet every other day.
Thank you.
If we don't make a change with that. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
My name is Lyle Wheeler. I live at 14820 East 50th Street, and nobody's talked about the critters that live out there. I play golf at Los Barrancas Golf Course, and I've walked that other property, and I've seen a desert tortoise out there. I've seen 2 of them. I've seen an antelope on the golf course out there that does get onto that land. I've seen bobcats, coyotes. There's all kinds of critters out there that live out there. I don't know where they're going to go when you put that many people out there. And another thing, that tunnel that goes underneath the freeway, if you go in there, you'll see the high water mark. In 2018, the water mark was this high. It came up this high on me. You couldn't get through there. So there's a lot of water goes out there. And that's all I got to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wheeler.
I'm Walt Bonneau. I live at 14698 East 40th Place. Mine's going to be very brief. Okay, we've made a lot of progress. The RVS 5, as we call it, AKA, has helped tremendously with the community, knowing that we're not going to be building up to 14 homes per acre. Now we're down to 5. In that particular plot, and I think Mr. Dull can probably figure this out as a civil engineer, that about 28% of that property is going to be for infrastructure, which meant roads, sewer, et cetera, runoff. So when you do the math on this, that means that they'll be lucky to get 1,500 homes in here, okay? So we'll just put that up on the table. Now, the issues that we've made progress on, we haven't made progress on a couple things, which is upsetting people. I actually sent a video of the water flow to Supervisor Daryl Simmons. He got a chance to look at it when the water is just dripping out of the faucet because we don't have any pressure. That's going on now. I've heard about the pumps. We've heard about the sewer issues. And oh, by the way, do we get water into the sewer system? I want to introduce our gentleman here to the fact that when we're in the wash, my home's next to the wash, I actually had to put the manhole cover back in the street, back in the hole, because it popped out from all the water that's going in. That road is flooded from the crown to the edges, 4 to 6 inches deep when the water flows. So just telling you up front, we've got a couple of issues. Infrastructure is what's upsetting people. We need to think about south frontage road, because that's getting bogged down. 15E is not complete. This 40th Street thing, to be honest with you, we could care less. And the reason for that is that's going to be a monumental project. Supervisor Pancrazzi walked it with Daryl, and I'll tell you, she came back and said, this is going to need an expansion bridge. I mean, that's how severe that is. If we fix south frontage, we fix 15E, we get the water and sewer system corrected, then, and everybody's asked for a site plan, I understand that, I think we've got something. But right now, we're still suffering from the lack of infrastructure, and it's hurting, okay? I'm done.
All right, one more.
I'm back again. Jim Williams, 12513 South Driftwood Drive. Before I get started, this is what I came to the meeting for, and I was introduced to that other subject while I was here, so I had to wing that one. I don't know whether I am for or against this. And the reason is, I don't have enough information to make a decision on whether I'm for or against it. I heard somebody ask earlier for a site plan. With something this big, how can we know whether we're for or against it until we've got some specifics as to what this is going to look like? Now, I've got a couple of issues. This shows building out into the water flow portion of the wash. My question to you is, if the developer is allowed to build out to that edge, will that restrict the flow of water in that flowing area of Fortuna Wash, this whole area coming down to here? Will that restrict or the water flow 100%? And I'll bet nobody in this room tonight can answer that question for me. And to me, that is a basic question that needs to be answered in your minds before you can make an intelligent vote on whether to approve or disapprove this. Because if you restrict or if they're allowed to restrict the flow of water in there, then it's going to back up. And I live right here. My home is in Arroyo de Fortuna. I'm on Driftwood Drive, and I'm the first lot that fully backs up to Fortuna Wash. The back of my property is 50 feet. See it right there, 50 feet from the water flow. You back that up, and I'm in deep trouble, along with everybody else here on Ironwood. I have talked to the people on Ironwood who live in this area, and in 1997, that water rose all the way up to here and into their backyards. So don't use that as a gauge as to what can happen. And if you're like me, you open the paper, and almost every day there is some weather event that is happening in this country that has never happened before. Almost on a daily basis. So don't tell me, or don't have in your mind, that that can't happen. Even with a full flow going through there.
Mr. Williams, thank you. Like your last, the timer rang already. Thank you.
Okay.
Appreciate your comments and thank you. Have a good evening.
Hi. Sorry, I know it's late. Nicole Baggerly, APN 728-07001. First of all, Chairman and Commissioners, I just want to thank you guys for your hard work, taking in the public's concerns from the last time this was presented, and really working with the Board of Supervisors and like the developers to amend the RVS definition. I also want to thank Kevin Dahl. He's been very easy to work with in finding a solution, and instead of just like butting heads. With that, I think you should recommend approval for this case since the applicant made the recommended adjustments to the application and listened to what you guys said, and same with the Board of Supervisors. I think clearly he's a developer, he's smart, he's not going to build homes that can just be flooded year after year. He is already willing to invest millions of dollars to do a traffic study and a drainage study, so I think we should just wait and see what those say and then vote. I mean, this is clearly not the first subdivision you guys have heard, so I know there's a process. That's why you do rezoning, then you do the traffic study, then you do the drainage study. So like, then you approve the site plan. So I know that there does say that you need to submit a site plan when you apply for these rezoning cases, but I think that's the beauty of working with the county and working with you guys, is you guys can make adjustments on a case-by-case basis. So in this case, it doesn't really make sense to invest money on a site plan when afterwards they could have a drainage study and then they have to go back and redo the site plan. So I just want to say, I think you should approve it this time around. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Would the applicant like to come back up for some questions or anything? Or does the commission have any questions or concerns to address with the applicant?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to say a few things real fast, if I may. To the lady that kept talking about we should go to the foothills. Born and raised here, I put the first mobile home up in North Foothills, so I'm 100% about the foothills. I know all about it. And you need to remember one thing, that this is privately owned property. Somebody owns that property. So there's a lot of things that we need to take in consideration here. We have a lot of stuff on our plate. And so please understand that. Put yourself in the developer's situation, put yourself in the owner's situation, and look at it from other areas other than just, like I'm 56 years old and I've been here all my life. Some of you have been here for 10 years. Some of you have been here for 20 years, and some of you have only been here for 5 years. So think about it in a lot of different ways. We have a lot to think about up here, so please understand where we're coming from. I'm not sure where I'm going yet, but just understand there's a lot of ways we need to go about this. Thank you.
Mr. Dahl, would you like to cover? Mr. Black has a question.
I got one question for you, Mr. Dahl. No, stay on. Before I vote to deny it. Only got one question, and we do this all the time, and I just don't understand why you didn't do this, is to do a conceptual design of how this would work and submit it. I'm gonna give you more information. I'm sorry I brought that up.
I asked him that last time.
I need to know the answer to that though, too.
Mr.
I
Chairman.
think I know the answer to that one, but I'll let you.
Mr. Chairman, so until we do the drainage study, until we do the traffic study, any conceptual plan that we show the board or the commission is just that, conceptual.
Yes.
It's very subjective, and people tend to focus on you're doing that where, and we get into a conversation that's really going to happen with the 10 of the map. So we're going to be in front of you with a 10 of the map and have those discussions. Every one of those discussions will be had with a 10 of the map. So it's not, this isn't the last time people can have a say in this process. So a project such as this, and again, we're doing the whole thing to have comfort in that if it only did 10 acres, and then 10 acres is piecemeal. Then you get criticized for doing it by piecemeal. So it's got to be done collectively. It's got to be done as a master plan. When the conceptual plan comes in, the traffic study will be completed. The drainage study will be completed. We won't be spending money twice. As a developer, you don't want to spend money twice. So we've, and I thought about this, I was talking back here, we should have brought in a 10 of the map. Staff probably has a 10 of the map to show that people look what it looks like. But we can't just put a 10 of the map together and say, okay, this is what we're going to do. Then we come back and it's completely different. What are we going to look like? It's just, we can't trust those guys. They showed this and now they're doing this.
Well, and Mr. Chairman, that's the, what I hear from these people. They don't have enough information about, this is a rezoning, so, I got it. I understand that, but conceptually.
And especially with a parcel like this, because like when not only the huge part, but the drainage study that they do might eliminate 350 acres out of this, the rezoning, and that'll change the conceptual design. So I understand what you're saying, and I know from the first meeting, you could drop a conceptual design and say, okay, I'm going to put houses here and here, but that'll be completely different when you get all these studies. So again,
that's completely
this is the rezoning.
I got it. I got your answer. I just wanted everybody else to hear it also.
And then also in regards to the question of the site plan that's required for rezoning is different than what is required for special permit uses like the one we saw for the solar panel. The site plan for the area in question has been provided. Now the development, that's a whole different site plan. That'll be down the road after all these studies are completed and you receive them, and then you're able to analyze this as a developer and say, this is actually what we could build. You might decide it's not worth it and not even build it because that might require you to do the infrastructure that everybody's requesting in regards to South Frontage Road, the additional sewage or water that needs to be brought in. It might not even happen. I mean, I understand that sitting here for 8 years, how this works. It took me a while to learn that too,
Yes,
but I
it
understand
does.
that now. Yeah, Mr. Bryant?
Yes, and I was just going to say that this is the chicken or the egg theory, right?
Right.
I mean, it would be nice if we knew exactly what was going to happen when you did a traffic study. It'd be nice if we knew what was going to happen when you did a drainage report. And then you could get a rough idea of what you might be able to plan here. But, I mean, this piece of property is very unique. But, man, we have zoned lots of pieces of property without plot plans.
Yes, we have.
Very, very many. In fact, very few have plot plans when we do the rezoning. So that's not an unusual thing that they didn't come. But I think the folks from the foothills area, I'm a foothills guy. I've been out there most of my life. I mean, I think you're rightly concerned. I mean, you have the sewer issues that we have a new utility company that's addressing. We've got the water pressure issues. We have a new utility company that's addressing. This came to us before and then to the board. The big thing was density. We fixed the density problem. The density problem now cannot be more than 5 per acre. Then the next concern that I heard being a commissioner from that area, is that we don't want the apartments. We don't want to deal with those apartments. We don't want, and the developer has pulled that part of the zoning from the proposal tonight, so we're not here for that. And when you get into the other things, we've heard about the sewer. Is it going to be enough sewer service? Yuma County can't judge that. We only know whether it's enough sewer service based on what the Corporation Commission and what the ADEQ tells us. So if ADEQ tells this developer they have, or this utility company, they have capacity to service this developer, it's a go. And if it's not, you can't build it. And if the Corporation Commission doesn't think they have capacity, then it doesn't get taken into the certificate of need, and the project can't be built. So that's kind of out of our hands. It's out of the supervisor's hands of whether there's enough water and enough sewer. We don't regulate those. We do know we have a new utility company that's trying very hard to address the rundown system that the Foothills had and trying to make it better. So I think with the chicken and egg theory, I think it's just totally unfair, and I don't blame the constituents because, I mean, I'd love to see what the design was too. But it would be totally unfair for government entities to require you to spend millions of dollars to see if you could get zoning. I mean, you have to know whether the project is viable before you spend millions of dollars to design it. And that's the way it's always been and always will be, and we can't change the rules here, in my opinion. We need to decide, is this is the same zoning that most everyone in this room has on their property. And it was zoned in large blocks, and so it's no different. How do we deny a guy his right to use his property or even explore that he might be able to use his property for the same things his neighbors use their property for? So, Mr. Chairman, is the public hearing still open, or are we?
No, we brought it back in.
So if it's closed, Mr. Chairman, I would like to move that we recommend approval of this.
I second that.
Project.
I agree.
Okay, we have a motion from Mr. Bryan, a second. Any further discussion or questions from the commissioners? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any against? Rezoning passes. Thank you.
That's good.
What? Was it okay?
Yeah, you did it very.
Voted.
I mean, it's
I never know if I'm making sense or
you
not.
did good. And I,
There was no one against.
There was nobody against.
No.
Nope.
Well, I don't blame these guys.
yeah, I don't either.
But you can't ask a developer to spend millions of dollars to see if they, operate and say, they might wanna like it if they had a
This one was,
plot plan.
he spoke.
I live out there.
Yeah, that was the Goldwater. That was the gentleman, this on Goldwater Drive.
I live right. I mean, I got a letter. That's how close I live.
I'm gonna get out of here. I can need a.
Right?
Item number 11.
Item number 11.
Item number 11.
Wash and now
Be careful going out the door.
You guys ready for item number 11?
Back today, I knew enough.
I don't know, wash.
I need to go.
Meeting is still going on.
Discussion, commission.
Yeah.
Go ahead and give it to staff, please.
I appreciate it if you would.
I need you to give this to staff for the rules, please. Thank you, and they'll provide it.
Mr. Simmons, but it's welcome for the board here.
Okay, okay.
We done?
No, we still got
we still got more.
item number 11.
11
Discussion
and
by
so on.
Discussion by the commission members, the planning director events and attending current events and schedule
We
for
got
future
a
planning
couple-
commission meetings.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I attended the planning seminar in Litchfield, Arizona the
Mr.
past
Chairman,
2 weeks ago.
I think the members of the public may think the meeting is over.
Yeah. Hit your gavel.
Yeah, we're still in meeting, please. Even the applicant was back there making noise. All right, go ahead. Sorry about that. Go ahead.
Yes, I attended the planning meeting in Litchfield Park, Arizona. Was it 2 weeks ago, Amber?
We just need to shut the doors.
I shut the doors. This is coming from outside on the hallway.
Just hold on a second, Ron.
Yeah, the door's shut down there. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, I did attend the planning meeting, was it 2 weeks ago, Amber? 2 weeks ago?
It was in the beginning of September.
Yeah, beginning of September. I just wanted to let everybody know that was a very, very informative. Some of the communities are having the same issues that we're having with the influx of people from other states coming in, driving the cost of homes up. And one of the big topics was affordable housing. And affordable housing obviously took on different meanings of different communities. What's affordable for us may not be affordable for Mesa or vice versa. And so I just wanted to let you know that when it comes up again, I encourage anybody else that can go to go. I really enjoyed it. And there was only 2 commissioners from around the state that was there, myself and another one. And the planners were very, very in awe that we went. I mean, it really spoke volumes. And I actually got up, and I was telling Amber, I actually got up and spoke. And they were just amazed that somebody took the time to go. And they, you know, so I encourage anybody that can go next time to go. It was very, very, very good feeling.
Thank you, Ronnie.
Appreciate that. I wasn't able to attend that because the week before, a couple of days after, I attended the Arizona City and Leagues Conference as well in Tucson. And yes, a lot of the breakout sessions, the topics were affordable housing throughout the state, and also accessory dwelling units. You know how everything's changing in regards to zoning.
Yeah.
And the biggest topic, I think, that is something that a lot of communities are going to be affected, especially the metro areas, downtowns, is the parking space requirements in regards to making it more. The concept is you request less parking spaces for high density or medium density to allow more units to be built. I mean, that was a hot topic because your public transportation is always connected to all that. But it's interesting how that at your meeting, the meeting I went to, and then 2 weeks before that, I went also to the end of the summer conference for the Realtor Association. And same topics. So it's the same topics all across the state. So it's just
there was one other thing that came up that really surprised me. I don't know that we have it here. Maybe Maggie and Javier can expand on it. But the city of Phoenix is finding that LLCs that are hard to track down are buying properties and holding on to it to try to drive the prices up. And they can't find out who the actual owners of some of those LLCs
China.
And that's no, and they're finding that they're going to like LLCs that don't exist, if you will. They're saying they can't even find out where they're going, but they're buying properties that they're holding on to them.
It's gonna be interesting. That's why projects developments are important for the communities. Otherwise, we're gonna be stuck in a
exactly
housing crisis.
Especially with 70% of the mortgages that are held right now are at low interest rates, and compared to the interest rates right now, that's gonna be a whole different issue there.
Yes.
Yeah. So.
Yeah.
Anyone
thank you.
else
Thank you.
attend? Anything updates or anything? No. All right. With that, we'll do item number 12. Call to the public. This is the time anyone from the public will address the commissions in regards to any items. We cannot comment back to you, but we could hear you. Anyone from the public? Antonio? No. The last 2 sessions. You mean, might as well just round it up
from the Marine Corps. Yes. Antonio Martinez, Marine Corps Station Yuma. No, I just want to thank you for everything that you guys said today. I think it makes total sense as far as the density goes, and that actually it really helps us as well for the things that we do. And I just want to applaud the plan and zoning department because I mean everything that we submit and with the people that we talk to, they can actually see all the cases, see all the information, and then see pretty much your input. So nothing but good things. So thank you.
I was waiting for you at the last splits earlier. I was like, oh.
Actually, for that, I mean, the only request we had for those 2, they're adjacent to the BMGR. We call it the orphan parcels. You know, because they're dissected by the highway. But they met the requirements is rezoning to 2-acre parcels. The only thing we would oppose down the road if they come to it is ADUs, if they have a secondary dwelling. That's actually on my statement when I submitted the statement for this cases, is like, hey, we're good. Like I said, development is good. It's just we would oppose.
He's still a history mark part.
You're Mr. Chairman, you're having a discussion
I'm
regarding an agenda item that already happened.
Didn't say anything.
I just smiled and didn't say a word. I was waiting for the buzzer to go off.
I'm sorry, I got you in trouble. That's it. Thank you.
I just said a word.
Get it under control, Mr. Chairman.
Get it under control.
Anyone else from the public? Hearing none, we adjourn. Thank you, everybody. Have a good night.
Get them out of control.